Thank you, everybody. Tonight, this is our regular scheduled Selectmen's meeting, March 24, 2015, at 7:30. Before we kick off the meeting, I'd like to ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just FYI, I'm going to announce that we're being recorded by our local community. What was the name? Chat. Community Halifax, Carver Halifax Access TV. So before I go any further, I want to ask if the committee had anything they'd like to say or shout out, or...
You can shout out.
Huh? Okay. Any additions to the agenda at all? No? One thing I'd like to do a shout out is congratulate, we got 2 new Eagle Scouts in Troop 39 in Halifax. There was a court of honor March 14th over at the Lady Lake Church for Mr. Sean Patrick Harkins and Mr. Robert Christopher Lino. It was a nice ceremony, and I just want to send out a congratulations to them and their family and their relatives and the troop. It was very well presented, and we're all going to be there to see such fine young men over there.
He's absolutely right. It was, I'm losing my voice after the start. The one thing that I appreciate, I've been to about 23 Eagle Scout ceremonies, and I don't think people realize what they contribute to the town. There were projects in order to get the Eagle Scouts, the type of things that they do really help the town at no cost, and they're good citizens. In fact, one of the Eagle Scouts put benches across the way on the Hops playground, and he had money left over, and he contributed to the Hops. That says a lot. We have adults who don't have time to go to town meetings or do things of that nature. Our future looks good if we continue to have Eagle Scouts and people like this town. I want to thank them.
Very good, awesome. Troy, you wanna, our first appointment is at 12:45? Sorry, 7:45?
Yeah.
So why don't we see if we can't get through some of the paperwork?
You go back, please. Put my other pair of eyes on so I'm going. We have minutes from regular minutes from February 17th, February 24th, executive session, March 10th, executive session, and March 10th, executive session. That if you haven't had an opportunity to read those, I would move them at this time.
It doesn't include what you sent today, does it? Or does it?
The ones I just said, yeah, that's March 10th, the first session.
The first session?
Yeah, do you want to hold off on that since you have,
I didn't-
you know which one that was tell them.
Yeah, I mean, I skimmed it. I don't know if you guys,
I looked at it.
I mean, if you guys want to move it out,
And that
I'll
would be
just-
the executive minutes of,
unless you want to.
March 10th, the first session.
Yes, and then the second session,
yes.
Mike wasn't present for that.
Unless you want a unanimous, we can.
No, I'm happy to vote on it because I looked at it.
Okay.
Now, we did the regular session, you gotta go, that was the town meeting, special town meeting, so.
So the-
February 17th.
Yes, it was, yes.
All right, so we have a motion to
Approve.
the regular session 17th,
17th,
executive
executive
24th.
session, February 24th, March 10th, and March 10th.
Right.
I will second those.
Obviously, I can't do the 4th, and I'll abstain from the 3rd, so I'll go along with the 1st and 2nd. That's my input. All those in favor?
Aye.
I would move to affirm the vendor warrant number 78 for $202,826.37.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve the payment to the following warrants. Payroll warrant number 79 for $340,920.77. Vendor warrant number 80 for $51,942.36. And the withholding warrant number 81 for $124,269.37.
Second.
I abstain from the police payroll warrant 79. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I would like to move at this time, Selectmen's bills. First one is legal ad revolving expense for $35, and that was to running in front of Halifax legal notice number 6435. And Selectmen's expense account for $71.39. Postmaster, certified mail and receipt of number 840-502. $71.39, and that completes
Second.
my presentation.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I would like to acknowledge the Selectmen's payroll week ending 3/21/15 for $6,229.64. Acknowledge the following turnovers: 2015-62 for $10, 2015-63 for $1,302.27, and 2015-64 for $35. And that completes.
Presentation for the evening. Another 5 or so minutes. I'm going to read off a couple letters that weren't put in our notes here. One of them is dated March 19th, dear Board of Selectmen. This is from Halifax Council on Aging. We're happy to announce the good news and are asking for your approval to move forward with this dynamic program at hand. The Massachusetts Association of Council on Aging, or as NCOA, sent an announcement that our Keeping Moving Walking program grant proposal for $600 was selected for funding. In total, 24 new Go the Distance State Working Challenge towns will launch and engage older adults in weekly walking routines across the state. That will improve and sustain their maximal health and independence. The mission of the program is to improve the lives of people over the age of 50 by promoting physical activity to help prevent postpone chronic diseases, build healthy bodies and minds, and keep individuals socially connected. The Halifax community has been enrolled in the state's first annual Go the Distance 1 Mile Walk Challenge on June 3rd, 2015. This mile walk will be the kickoff of the new Keep Moving Walking program. More than 20 seniors have signed on to this challenge themselves to step, walk, and move more today than yesterday. The walk starts at Pope's Tavern Senior Center, rain or shine, and will proceed down Route 106 for a half mile towards the Country Club. It will loop back to Pope's Tavern. All walkers of varying ages are invited to this community event to walk with our seniors. All walkers will, with varying abilities and speeds, can walk the distance comfortably. That's comfortable with them. The registration will begin at 3:30 p.m. and seniors who have signed up for the pedometer trackers will be given out. What is it? Pedometer trackers will be given out along with tracking sheet to be used for the day and the feature of part 2 of the walking challenge. Once walkers have finished that at Pope's Tavern, they check in and will be involved in a turkey burger cookout party. The community at large is invited to go the distance walk challenge to walk, jog, hop, help or cheer all participants on. We hope all the town departments have a few people to join us on this special day to challenge themselves to sign up their pace and move to a healthier place. Sincerely, Barbara B. Bratton, Council on Aging.
Okay, so does that apply to the board members, because you
Got
guys
it.
are all over 50, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what's nice about this is it coordinates with our Hop for Hop. So when I talked to Barbara about it the other day, June 3rd is, I think it's a Wednesday, because the Hop for Hops, which is the 5K, is on that Saturday. So I think it'll be great for people that want to warm up for the Hop for Hops, and it'll support the seniors in their goal and getting healthy. So I think it's a great
Is it
program.
on Saturday?
The Hop for Hops is Saturday the 6th. This is, I think on a Thursday, I think it's the 3rd, I have it on my calendar, I think it's, the 3rd is the Thursday.
It's April?
No, it's June.
June, sorry.
June
Yeah,
3rd.
June.
I believe
It
June
is-
3rd is a Thursday. No, it's a
Why
Wednesday.
can't I find the date?
It's a
The
Wednesday.
date disappeared.
It's a Wednesday, it's Wednesday, June 3rd.
Right?
Here,
It just
right
jumped
here.
out of it. Oh, yeah, all right, June 3rd is on a Wednesday. You're correct. And that is...
In the hospital.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to talk to the Hops people to see if maybe it'd be great to have some of the kids cheering the seniors on for their walk.
Cool.
Over at school.
Oh, yeah, somebody can
No,
push-
no, because it's happening around 3:30.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Somebody can push my wheelchair on the.
Yeah, you can still use your walker. All right, I got another letter here, March 18, 2015, the Honorable Board of Selectmen, Town of Halifax. Dear Board, it has been both an honor and a distinct pleasure to have served as a building inspector of the Town of Halifax for the past 18-plus years. The town has afforded me the unique opportunity to have served in our community, in our own community, among friends and family, starting almost immediately upon moving here close to 40 years ago. I developed an immense fondness for the town, for our town, a place where each citizen can make a difference if they so choose to become engaged. It is both with sadness and anticipation of a new chapter in my life that I officially inform you of my intention to retire from the position of Inspector of Buildings, Building Commissioner, and at the end of the day of June 30, 2015. Although retiring, it is my intention to remain active and engaged in our community in other ways. I close in offering my genuine appreciation to the Board of Selectmen I have served for and mostly, especially the residents of Halifax for their support and cooperation over these many years. Respectfully, Tom Millius, Inspector of Buildings, Building Commission. So, I'm sorry to see you go, Thomas. I'm sure you're going to be around. I don't see him here tonight. But thanks for all your help, service.
I feel we need to send a letter to him, at least thanking him for his service to the town for the past 18 years, and congratulated him on his future plans.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye, it'll be a
Most-
tough act to follow.
Most sincerely and heartfelt. We're, another minute, I guess we got a couple letters, FYI, Matthew Chermont.
Chairman.
Your junk dealer's license will expire on April 30th, 2015. The closeout is an attestation form and workers' compensation affirmative affidavit which must be completed and returned along with a check payable to the town of Halifax, the amount of $75. All documentation in the check must be at the selectman's office no later than April 10th, so that the board may renew this license at their meeting. Any question? Which license is this?
His license too
Yeah,
is,
junk
is
dealer's
not
license
doing
are coming
license,
out.
established license.
Yeah, it's every year, so
It's up at the end of June.
Yeah,
End of April.
where's 272 Plymouth?
That's
Right
his
there,
location.
Cumberland Farms.
Is this the one we had the hearing?
Yes, yes it is.
Yes.
Yeah, but I thought we were,
There is
No,
a
this is a
license.
regular duration of his license is coming to me from renewal
Right.
of April. That would happen whether we had a hearing or not.
Yes, and the motion by the two of you were to continue his license and then review the situation again in April.
we also have another one, March 24th. Francis, I'm terrible at names. Dodero, Unit 5 Bar, the T-Box Halifax, dear Mr. Madero closes the renewal form, attestation and a workers' compensation affidavit for the renewal of the pool table license that will expire May 1st. Could please compliment the form, $60 per pool table, return to the selectman's office by April 10th, so the board may renew. It should say review and renew.
Does it make more sense to go through the note, Charlie's notes instead of?
Well, these were in there before.
Oh.
We got the same thing, Miss Kimberly Cunningham, your junk dealer's license will expire April 31st, attestation form, and a compensation affidavit, renewally returns to the town. So what is this one for?
I think that's
Junk
the,
dealer's
my
license.
mother's closet.
Junk deal, it's a junk dealer's license, okay.
Yeah.
So those are three that need to go. All right,
7:45.
we made it to 7. You taking Charlie's place?
Hey,
I can reach him, I can't reach you.
somebody's gotta take the stone off my wheel so it rolls down the hill.
All right, we have a 745, a sub what? A sub had, what is that?
It's her, so you said you were bad with names, this is Subhadraman Patel and her
I don't wanna-
Falguni.
Okay, I didn't want to butcher it, that's why I'm struggling. Transfer alcohol license, Lindy General Store. We're looking for approval of pledge of license, approval of pledge of inventory. So we have that in our folders.
We have the packet.
Yeah, I have the packet right here, and Pam has printed up some information. I have also the signature sheet.
So this is a transfer of ownership.
Transfer of license, pledge of inventory. I guess these three, board need to vote on all three. This is a public hearing, March 24th. Application received was March 4th. Looks like everything's been received from what I can see in this transfer. Don't see anything that sticks out. Anybody here have any questions, or you wanna open it up?
The only question I have is that with the transfer of the license, who's gonna be doing the managing for me?
Subhadraman is the manager of record. Her daughter Falguni, my name is Joe Devlin, I'm an attorney from the Democus Law Offices in Lynn, Massachusetts. With me is Subhadraman, who's the proposed manager of record. Her daughter Falguni Patel, who is all the officers and the 100% shareholder. Also is her son, Kalpesh, who's here in moral support. Primarily, the three people that are going to be working at the store are Falguni and her husband, Jay Paul, and Subhadraman. And they've also got three other family members who will be working at the store.
And they all had the liquor license test.
Subhadraman is tip certified.
Okay,
Yeah.
tip certified.
Okay, so is that the only one that's tip certified?
Falguni, are you?
I am a tip certified
Yeah.
too.
And Falguni.
Okay, because anyone in the store, if they're selling liquor, has to be tip certified.
Anybody who's going to work there, I mean, we have a little bit of time between now and when the ABCC approves it, so I usually tell my clients, anybody who else needs it, get it done between now and when the
They
license.
understand tips doesn't mean tip the bottle. It means just want to make that clear.
This is, I represent 300 people with the last name Patel, but I also represent
Really?
several of their family members. This is a family business, so they've all got experience.
Aren't you already involved with something here?
Like in Halifax?
No,
We have another.
I think it's a different
No.
family.
Yes,
No,
yes.
they don't, it's sort of like a,
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's a last
The
name
Volvo-
like
the
big-
Volvo
big
gas
last
station.
name.
That's why I went when it came in, I saw it.
it's like Smith, or Devlin from a certain part of Ireland. That's my last name. So that's they're all from the same
So
part.
you understand when I say
Gujarati.
K.A. Will, don't do them up.
Like the Nazarellas, I mean.
No,
Just families everywhere.
Chuck your law is what I remember.
You know Shalon, right?
What's that?
Shalon?
Shalom. Oh, Sláinte.
So the transfer of ownership has already happened.
No,
No.
No, this is what's going on, we gotta approve it.
so they're buying the business and the real estate,
Okay.
and that'll wait until it happens within, the
ABC.
PNS says 10 days after the ABCC approves this, but sometimes takes the bank a little bit longer to get it together, but, and Rockland Trust is financing
Oh, yeah, they're
most
very
of
good.
this,
Yeah.
and they are very good, so
Yeah.
So, are the hours changing?
nothing's changing,
Nothing's changing.
other than the
So
people.
everything that's on the license right now, you wanna maintain?
And
Yeah.
the seller is here today with counsel
Yeah,
as well.
I recognize the
I think you
building.
noticed. Yeah.
Okay, so everybody will be tip certified and you know,
Yes.
have your licenses viewed, hung and viewed for everybody to see, and that the liquor itself gets locked up when it's not already in the storefront, so,
That's actually, the liquor that's not on display,
yeah.
storage
It's in the
needs to
cooler,
be,
the storage.
needs to be
Right.
secured.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're moving liquor in and out, the door can stay open, you can do all that, but once it's, you know,
Welcome to
Sure,
Halifax,
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys do.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you.
You gonna put Halifax on the map?
Halifax is gonna put them on the map.
Yeah.
And everything is all good with you?
Yes.
Did we do something wrong?
No, I'm just ready for a change. I've been here for 18 years. That's
Yeah, but you're only 19 years old, so come
yeah, just ready for something different.
We wish you well.
Thank
on.
you very much.
Whatever your ventures are in the future, we wish you well and change it. And we welcome you to
Thank you.
Halifax, and hopefully
you.
things will go well for you, and
Thank
it'll be 18 years before you decide to give it up.
It looks like all the paperwork is in order. Pam,
Yep.
we organized everything so well, thank you.
Yep, there's all the papers here, Pam's gonna send it off once we get an approval here. I guess this is one of your stipulations that you gotta get this before you can move forward.
I would move that the transfer of license be granted.
Transfer of license,
And
Yeah,
we
to all
try to,
three.
you know,
pledge of license,
Yeah.
and pledge of
All three.
inventory.
Yeah,
That's the motion.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
motion, I will second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We will sign it, and I'm not sure, do they have to sign it as?
No, they did all their signing, I just have to send everything to ABCC, and then they'll send it back to me. Sign, and then I will let them know
Right.
once it comes in.
Really quickly, right?
Yes, right.
It'll come back like this.
Yeah. It's not during renewal time, so it might come back.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And it's not
It's
summertime.
Yeah.
And thank you for the directions, good directions.
Oh, great, I'm glad you made it
You
here.
take Lynn,
I did, yeah.
they weren't always in Lynn, were they? The Marcus?
They're one of the brothers was a state rep out of Boston,
That's what I remember.
and their family owns that old neighborhood food, which is the hot dog.
Hot dog.
Yep.
Okay, I used to live in Mattapan,
Oh, yep. That's
where it was.
That's one of Paul DeMarcus's
Yeah,
aunts.
on the right-hand side, you go down Blue Hill Road. Blue Hill, Mass. I thought the name sounded familiar.
Awesome.
Thank you for
Well,
coming in.
welcome to the neighborhood.
Always
Thank
thinking
you.
about
Thank
who
you.
knows Paul, because he was a very smart guy, so sometimes he put people off with just not thinking.
Brilliant.
Yes, and saying something.
I'm not saying you didn't have any common sense, but he wasn't telling you.
I didn't say it.
No, I didn't say it either. That's what I'm saying. No, believe me, I know a lot of people like that, and they're good people, just that sometimes they can figure that everybody's on the same page that they're on.
Everyone has always said, boy, he's very smart. And I'm like,
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
look at
welcome.
it. Nice. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whatever it is, I didn't do it. If I didn't do it, I'm sorry. It won't happen again.
I'm gonna save,
I'm a
I'm
Globetrotter.
gonna save this,
Excellent.
that one for last.
Can I, what I did notice on the notes is the Clover House thing.
Yeah, it was on Pam's,
Oh, it's on here.
It's right
Okay.
here.
yeah, Pam put that on there.
All right.
Lots of house.
Yes.
It doesn't matter, you'd add it in anyway, Yes.
Huh?
That wouldn't matter, you'd add it in.
Well, I just,
If you remember.
I had some questions about the BBM. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna skip the first one. I'd
Yes.
like to do it later. I'm going to go back
What,
to
you
the
mean the
mail.
Boy Scouts?
Our next appointment is at 8 o'clock.
We don't need to.
Is at 8 o'clock,
discuss
with National Grid poll hearing, so why don't we move through some of this mail?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Use of Town Hall Green, the Boy Scouts would like to hold their annual yard sale on June 20th, 2015. No conflicts with other events, and no problems with previous years.
I'll make a motion that we approve the use of the green for June 20th for the Boy Scouts.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The SWIM SWMI grant, this is the grant to examine the feasibility of putting automatic controls on the Brockton Dam on Stump Brook. The preliminary meeting was held earlier this month and the grant contract has been signed. The contract became between the engineer firm and the town. Still needs to be signed. Either is a go from the board to sign this. Either is a go
Everything
from
is
the board
okay.
to sign this.
So I'll make a motion, is it just the chair that signs the contract?
Inside the packet, I didn't, no, you know, I think it's on the board. It's like,
Well, it doesn't look like,
no,
looks like a
that,
single.
no, that was one that you had already signed.
Yeah, that's the one that you signed that was between,
Yeah, that was the grant.
was the grant
I
itself.
signed
So
this.
now this is a contract between the engineering firm and the
The
town.
next one behind it.
Oh yeah, this one, all right, this is
Yeah,
the
that
one
was
that was
the
signed,
grant,
okay.
yeah, and then
I didn't see the 50 million signatures, that's
This is the-
confusing.
Then, yeah,
This is the contract
and I
agreement,
think all three of you guys.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that the board sign the contract between,
that's correct.
doesn't say what the company name is.
It
The,
is SCADA feasibility and design memorandum at the Monpont Plymouth, Monpont Pond. Who is
the
the owner?
contract, I need the contract.
Why doesn't it say?
The very front page.
Isn't it this?
Yeah.
Controls?
I would go to the last page.
Yep.
That's town
Authorized
attorney,
contractor.
Oh, no, that's what we need. Is the authorized contractor, so William Ranlat, Vice
Vice
President.
President,
Oh.
William R. Hall Jr., Vice President.
It's not on the front page?
It's not, I don't think that
You gonna snatch it out of there?
No, no, wait.
The owner and contractor agrees as below. Here's the terms. Personnel, waivers, risks, insurance. Last page, two contracts.
May I look at something?
Take a peek. GHD Inc.
Okay.
GHD Incorporated. Okay.
Yeah.
For the sum of $74,850 lump sum billed monthly. Lump sum billed monthly. So there we go.
So I will make that motion to sign the contract so we can start the work of the grant.
Second.
Any further discussion? We've already signed the grant. This is a contract with somebody that actually did the study.
All right.
Okay. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. And today is 3/20/15. This is right?
And there's two of them, right?
Yes. Two of these bad boys.
We're very lucky to have gotten this one grant.
All right, we'll push to 8 o'clock, so why don't we go ahead. We have an 8 o'clock appointment for a poll hearing.
5 polls.
Five poll.
Five polls and some kinds of it.
I got one poll, type of poll, one poll, but there's 5 of these one polls?
There's 4 sole-owned National Grid poles and 1 joint-owned Verizon and National Grid pole.
All right, Scott,
Yes.
one National Grid, 5 on Ponson. One national, one.
Boys, you can
What's
come in
that?
front if you like.
It's okay. Yeah, I know, I'm kind of hearing impaired.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Hearing request, public notice, 1 hour butters list. Received a hearing schedule for 8 p.m. Town Hall. A butters notification via regular mail and went 7 days, at least 7 days prior to hearing. Police detail 1, detail officer at this location. Highway stipulations, work to be performed ASAP. Highway is planning on doing work late spring, early summer on 1 Ponson Street. Need dig safe number. Conservation is no. Hearing, that's all I got from outside that. So you're looking to put 5 poles total?
National Grid will be setting five new poles.
You're not here for National Grid?
I am from National Grid.
Okay.
The reason I make that distinction is it's a telephone set, and I anticipate.
It's a shared goal.
Right, and I anticipate telephone setting some additional poles in relation to this project, but these are National Grid set poles that I'm here for.
Okay, you got 360 feet of conduit, which runs,
Beneath an N-Star crossing on Mount Ponson, they asked that we go underground, so we're installing some underground cable right there, which is in conduit.
all right, and does that cross the road at all?
Nope, it stays in the public way on the
So are
west side of the
we,
road.
so are you planning on doing this when the ground thaws?
Underground would be when the ground thaws.
So you go ahead and do the poles. Well, go ahead, tell us about the project.
Yeah.
Well, the
What
project
you're
is in
trying to
relation to the new solar field that's going on Ponset. They had National Grid extend their existing distribution line to meet on site, which is the installation of these additional poles is to extend the line. So that's the gist of it. And telephone will be replacing the majority of the existing poles down on Ponset. We're upgrading those existing lines to accommodate the new needs for the solar farm. But the 5 poles are to get to where the existing line stops on site. Like I said, the conduits, so we can install some underground cable that goes beneath the transmission crossing, so we don't have an overhead line crossing with N-Star.
So that's, it's not going across the road, but it is what's going, it's going underneath the ground to the solar panel.
Correct.
Okay.
What's this road that goes in Brandeis?
No, that would be,
Not Brandeis,
oh my gosh,
What?
Carmel Mill.
oh, this, yeah, that's right.
Yep. Yep, there is a couple, so 3 of the new owned electric installs are down to extend the line. There are 2 more that are up north in the existing configuration. One of them is to set a stub pole to support an existing pole that needs support. The other one is to install a mid-span pole to accommodate some additional electric equipment. It's just too thick for a telephone set, so electrical will be set in that one.
So what was the last part of that?
It's too big for telephone to set that pole. They only set up to a certain size, so electric needs a certain pole. It is the pole 72 and a half. I think that's the sheet that you were just looking at, that mid-span pole electric will be setting.
72, yeah. So when you say that end stock, they're separate from all this?
Because that's plumbed in.
Correct.
Oh,
Their transmission lines do cross Ponset Street, and that was an obstacle we needed to overcome, so we went underground to not have aerial crossing.
So none of this is in the roadway or sidewalk or?
Nope.
Well, highways located, 1 police detail. How long do you think this will take? A day, 2 days?
I'm not sure. I'm not really qualified to comment on the construction. I could certainly relay the question to someone within construction, National Grid. An individual pole set will only take a few hours, but I'm not sure exactly how to schedule the rest of the replacements and all that.
If the ground's still frozen, it might take a little longer than that.
Yeah, they could probably manage with poles, but I think they want to wait till it thaws for the underground installation anyway.
I can see that. It's frozen at least down 18 inches or more.
I was impressed how the solar field managed out there with all the snow this winter. They got that built still.
I know, pretty
Okay.
amazing, right?
It'll lose a lot of heat.
It's some big equipment out there.
Mhm.
Need the weather relevant.
Yeah.
Well, I would move that we grant the request for installation on Mount Constant Street, one pole P72 1/2, and pole 7, what's the other one?
There's pole 115, 114, 113, 86-84, and 72 and a half.
Okay. So you
72
said-
and a half, 73,
I'll second that motion.
72. The only thing I'd like to add to that would be just give us some notifications, give the police and highway notification that when you're coming, for either or whatever project you're doing, just give them a heads up that you're coming. As much as you can, so they can be ready.
Okay.
Obviously, you gotta let the police know if you have any detail. The highway, just because they gotta maintain the roads and stuff.
And we'll need the dig safe now, by the water department.
I got that on the inside, what I did was right here, at the bottom, right here, I wrote down the stipulations. One was, one police detail at this location, the other one was saying, I'm working to perform ASAP, highways planning on doing work late spring, early summer, and provide water department with dig safe number. So
Did you get a copy of that?
It's,
This is
it's on the, it's on the.
It's on the form.
It's on the form itself.
And these conditions will be sent to our National Grid as well, the clerk who.
Yeah, what I did was, I have a copy of course from board, yeah, I have them on all of them. Okay, so yes, it's on their copies too. Yes, yeah.
Big safe number. Cause.
That's just one of them.
And we have it in the packet as well.
Yeah, I was looking for that, I couldn't see. Yeah, I don't see this.
Yeah, no,
Oh, we
it's
do
here.
have it.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got one. Oh, the conduit's going across the road. Oh, no, this is the easement.
The reason they're doing this is because they don't want to cross the road.
All right.
Yeah, they
They
don't.
don't want, they don't want an aerial lines going across the road. Am I correct?
So how many of these, are there separate for?
The Head Start lines are crossing the road, and that's what they don't want to cross.
Big truck come by.
There's a lot of people on this.
I'm missing an intent, yeah.
So you end up all.
That means it, I hope they win.
Is it March Madness or?
No, my son has his last in-town basketball game, he has a playoff game, and my husband's a coach, and he's coached all my 4 sons, and this is his last game coaching, so I just got an update. I apologize.
Okay.
So Pam, this is one
He's got a bracket.
permit, which covers all the different,
No,
no.
I have
So this,
one packet's for 4 poles, one packet over here is for 1 pole, and another packet is for the conduit.
all right, so there's 3
All
different.
separate signatures.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're all labeled, you can sign
Right.
it.
yeah,
So there's 3 different requests.
yes.
One pole P72 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's pole,
113.
there's 360 feet of conduit.
Right.
And then there's 4 poles P86 through 84, there's P13. Well, it isn't through 84.
Yes.
Pole
P86
P86, 84, and there's P113, 114, and 115. Those are the 3 requests. Okay. We had a motion in a second?
Yes.
Any further
And you
discussion?
guys vote on the conduit
We
too?
haven't voted yet.
We're voting on all 3, the motion is all 3,
Yes.
and the second is also, so any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All right.
The boys are probably going to go home and watch the game. 'Cause
At Board of Selectmen.
Now I mentioned basketball, right?
Yeah.
No, this is 8th graders. Although bracket wouldn't be that.
You are good to
Thank you,
go.
sir.
We'll sign this. I don't think, you're not taking this tonight, right?
No, I have to,
Northeastern
you
and
guys-
Harvard
I
both
have
lost
town clerk
tiebreakers.
has to sign it
Did
also.
they?
So, town clerk, Pantone,
Okay, the town clerk has to sign it also. You guys have to sign it.
and
And
then,
then I put it in a cap and I will send it off. After I make copies. So it's not in major.
okay.
He's gonna be signed too, or just the
Yeah,
three?
they all of them. I have the names over here. If you have to sign where.
Why is it saying,
I guess the clerk signs one, and then the board, well, the clerk signs two, and the board signs me and you two, and he signs two.
Put your label, just.
Was that painless? It's more painful for us, I guess, than,
This painless, I've only been in one other petition hearing. I said I've only been in one other petition hearing, this is pretty painless.
oh, good.
Says you.
We serve the please. No, I wish you guys luck over there, and hopefully it works out well. It's a new adventure for all of us. Well, I appreciate it, Scott.
Yep, all set?
Do you have any questions for us?
So thanks for your time.
All right.
thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
have a great night.
Have a good evening. All right, 8:10. We have Chapter 32B, Section 2123, acceptance vote tonight at 9. So is this part of a hearing we have tonight?
No,
No, that's,
Why is it?
that's the health insurance.
Just so you know, the door's locked.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, Sue, do you want me to?
I unlocked it.
and you picked the lock?
Yeah, I picked it, yeah.
Thank you so much. I don't know what happened. So this
Well, if
has,
it's kind of
Well,
open,
I
if it's
did
kind of
too.
open, it's open, but if it shuts down.
Yeah, I couldn't tell though. I was like, I said, I didn't know if it's fully closed.
It's unlocked now.
Okay, what is this, why is he saying acceptance vote tonight at 9 PM, certified letter sent to the bargaining, oh, this is something we already did. This would not be the night to vote on any proposed changes, however, the board can consider whether to start the procedure of a possible change, that being the elimination. That being the elimination of hold harmless agreement signed a number of years ago when Mayflower changed the co-pays on its plan at that time. The hold harmless agreement set up a system that reimbursed employees who paid more in increases in co-pay than they saved in premiums. According to the assistant treasurer, only one person had been reimbursed during the past year, and that was for less than $1,000. So Charlie's notice, all the board will do tonight is accept section 21 through 23. Charlie also proposed the change in the hold harmless agreements. There are a number of steps to take before moving forward on that. So all we're doing is we're voting.
I would move that we follow the advice of the manager that we signed, accept 32B.
Section 30, chapter 32B, section 21.
I'll second it, but I'm part of the Mayflower group, so I don't know if I can actually vote on it. And I kind of wanted Charlie here to ask him that, so I'll abstain when we actually do the vote, just to make sure that I'm not in conflict.
I thought this was just to move it along, Charlie.
Yeah, it could be, but
All the
board
made a
would
final decision.
do tonight is we're accepting section 21. We've already accepted 32B, but we're accepting sections 21 through 23, which allows us to go over and maybe make changes, or allows us to make changes if we're willing to. So that's the next step in the line of steps.
yeah.
So we're looking for a vote to approve sections 21, 23. I don't think it has anything to do, I don't know, I mean,
Yeah, I
you can
mean,
vote on it or don't vote on it.
yeah, I think what I'll do
If you
is
want
I'll
to be on the
abstain
safe
until
side.
I know for sure, because I've been part of that group, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean,
But yeah, you go for it, but I
all right, so
yeah.
Troy, if you
I
motion,
move it.
I'll second that vote,
Okay.
and that way you
Yeah,
can be safe. Any further discussion on that? Section 21 through 23 acceptance? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
yeah, I'll abstain, yeah.
And we are at, oh, we don't have one till 3:30,
Well,
all
these
right?
are all signed, these are, you need to sign off on everything.
I thought he signed these.
Um,
There's three sets. Oh. That's tricky. Get on it all. I'm gonna sign them now.
Did you
Troy
want me to
didn't
go?
sign.
one
While you signed, do you want me to go to the one concert thing?
Troy didn't sign that
You
one.
got a Diet Coke?
You didn't, or no, one's the town clerk, is that what you're saying maybe? I thought I had a,
It's just a quick statement, right?
Yeah.
Which one did I not sign?
it's town clerk. I know it's, yeah, because then she was thinking about her pot and tomorrow.
Yes.
And then,
Troy.
I think I
This one.
Right,
It's kind of crazy.
yeah.
This one, Troy, I know this one. The front one.
Oh, they lost some overtime.
It was a close game though. They put up a good fight.
It's over, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then it's 7, yeah.
Oh, Mark Roy.
Use the old college try.
No.
All right, Montponset Pond correspondence forwarded to us by Paul Collins of the Montponset Watershed Association concerning public health advisories by the Department of Public Health. I don't see any particular action for the board to take. Yeah, I did see,
Yeah, so what happened was, Paul Colas is part of the watershed,
Advisory group.
but he's also part of he's a water commissioner for that group that sort of controls the pond that we just
Yeah.
reenacted. And so this fall, they made a vote that whenever there's a public advisory on the drinking water, that they would prevent Brockton from diverting the water. And so DEP came in and said, no, we don't think you can do that. And then DEP changed their mind after they looked at the advisories and said, no, you're right. If there is a public issue with the drinking water, then yes, you can vote to not divert water to Pembroke.
so who votes not to divert?
The water commission.
The water commissioners.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're the ones, who was
Yeah.
the one that said no and then DEP said?
DEP.
DEP.
No, they're the ones that said no, who said?
They said
yes?
no in the first
They
place, then
said
they
no, and then
reversed
they
the
looked
decision.
at, Paul, what Paul did is he had me on the email chain, so he had sent information to DEP saying this is why we're doing it, and then they agreed and went back to their original stance, which is whenever there's
A health issue.
a health issue or the
The bacteria levels are.
are high, then the water commissioners can vote to stop any diversion to Brockton until it's, yeah. Which is, I think it's the benefit to our town because we are trying to work with Brockton to help us with the cost of keeping our pond clean.
You know, they're doing is just dragging it over to the next pond.
Right, so it's all
Doesn't help
good.
that pond, yeah.
Yeah, we were a little nervous when DEP came out with it, but we're happy that they upheld their original vote, so.
Paul Collins did a good job.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah,
he's
really,
I mean,
congratulations.
just a
Thank you,
wonderful
Paul.
person.
Shout out and thanks for that.
Yeah, to the whole watershed, so, yeah.
Back to that last vote we just took.
Yeah.
It's slated it's on our agenda for 9 o'clock. I didn't see that.
Okay,
So we'll revisit that again 9 o'clock.
okay.
And if we need to revote it, I don't know, if it's announced, posted for 9, maybe there's someone that'd like to come in. Maybe someone's might like to come in and talk about it.
Yeah.
So, we voted, but we can reconsider, we'll do that again at 9 o'clock.
Right, because he did send letters to all,
Yeah,
Right.
letters,
Yeah.
maybe that's why.
Yeah.
intend to provide
I mean, I think
And yeah.
further notice by emails.
I stand corrected.
So, we'll let it stand and then we'll open it up again at 9. Silly me. All right.
That was lucky too.
Oh, get your bodyguard with you today.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
All right, Black
I'm
Lid
not scared.
Farms, Chapter 40B additional documents submitted to the ZBA as part of the hearing process Is the board planning on sending comments to the ZBA?
I thought we already did
I know.
some letter already out.
Um,
Can you find the letter that we sent earlier? Because I thought we had discussed this at an earlier meeting and sent comments,
The same-
now to the state, but also the ZBA.
They're the same comments we sent to the state. I think we said to go, maybe he's asking if we have any additional comments?
It hadn't changed 10 years ago, the same conditions that exist on the Black Ledge is still there. It's in a swampy area, there's only one way in and out, and it's across a stream.
Okay, the way I'm reading this is, since there was additional documents submitted to the ZBA, do we want to send comments on the new information?
There's something.
Oh, yeah, so there's nothing
Yeah.
that we've got in our package.
No.
This is where it is. So you're saying there's additional,
Yeah, I couldn't stay for that whole hearing because I had something else down here.
Yeah, we were here.
Like I said, I was there towards the end of the meeting, and they're supposed to meet again. I think they said April 14th,
Oh, is it?
or somewhere around there,
Oh, that's how it's like.
13th or 14th. This will meet again, to discuss it. Might be wrong about the date, but I know they meet.
I got a Form 7 extension permit of water conditions. Confirmation. Significant change in water conditions. Property owners, water resource area. So this looks like it's all from the Conservation Commission, or DEP, Department of Environmental Protection and Water Conditions. That's what this package looks like.
Yeah, this is land up there, I believe.
Yeah. Halifax Conservation, standard order of conditions. So I guess what he's looking at is, based on any of this new information, do we have anything we wanted
I
to
haven't
add?
had an opportunity to peruse through
Yeah,
all
me
this
neither.
stuff, so I would prefer not to make a comment about some letter in response to it until I get a chance to read it.
Zoning board has provided fire hydrant shall be located. Board of Selectmen comments are here, the access road that is obstructed over the common.
It was covered fairly well.
Yeah, but it's tomatoes
Yeah,
over there.
yeah, that's the fire chief had submitted a packet last Monday as well, and that's his packet. So he had gone and he looked through all the records.
The residents were there, and some of many of the questions were presented to them.
Do we have Lance Benjaminos?
Yep.
07s?
Yep.
You know, unless there's anything,
I don't think there was anything presented.
yeah, doesn't seem anything different, but we can ask that question next meeting on that. I don't have any additional comments at this point, I don't see anything here. If you want to take a look at this, Frank?
No,
No?
it's not that quick. I want to take time to read it and peruse it right now and take a time.
We'll take a break.
We take a time away from Bob and Sue, I'm sure they got other things to do.
You get 6 minutes. No, that's fine. I don't see anything. You want to just pass over that right now?
I would
Yeah.
prefer if we could table it until the next meeting, until our senior review. I don't know how to get it.
No, that's
going on.
Yep. No. I don't know how quick it's moving upstairs. All right, Planning Board, Amanda Estates. Where's Amanda Estates? Which one is that?
I believe Amanda Estates is right near,
Street.
yeah.
Elm?
Yeah. It's off of it.
All right, the Planning Board received a revised site plan from the developer based on permits granted by the ZBA. The Planning Board determined that the site plan has been significantly revised so that the original approval of the site plan is no longer valid. The developer has been notified about this, waiting to see what the developer will do. Have we had any comments on this ourselves?
No,
I-
there's no action for us to take.
Right, but I think it needs to be pointed out that the planning board does not support the project as the way that the ZBA approved it. So that, I think Charlie's just letting us know because there could be something brewing there.
I think the ZBA came up with a condition. Planning Board approved it, goes to ZBA. ZBA said that they tweaked it based off of their
Right.
end of it. And those changes changed it enough that the Planning Board now says, it's not what we approve, we gotta relook at this all over
Right,
again.
and so the zoning board of appeals has strongly urged the developer to go back to the planning board to have it relooked at.
And they're saying that here.
Yes.
But I mean,
They
isn't
just
there,
want us to be aware.
isn't there any comments that we can have on this? What, we have comments on the other stuff, no?
No, we
We
could,
can have all
but
the
we
comments
can't
and
make
all, but
the,
now we can't make the decision.
we can't make the owner of the property go to the planning board, they just need to make as long as the zoning board of appeals is aware that it's not officially approved by the planning board.
Yeah, I get all that, but I'm saying we still can make comments if we wanted to, but I don't know what we're making comments. You know, as a board, we can make comments,
Yes.
whether they apply or not. We don't have any say in it at this point,
Right.
other than we can make comments if there's anything that sticks out. I just don't know what it looks like. So. Talent bank form received from Derek Bennett at the finance, for the finance committee. He is not running for school committee, so could serve on the finance committee mid-May. So I'm assuming that form has been forwarded to the finance committee,
Mhm.
Pam?
I think it has, I thought that Charlie had written it, but it's not there, but,
No. So make sure that we, you know, I don't know, what do we keep a copy and then forward to them a copy, or,
yeah, the copy is at the mail folder.
but how do they get theirs?
Well, usually he'll write on there, Charlie will forward it, and at the top of the town bank form, he writes CC Finance Committee, so if it's in the,
Okay.
in chapter C.
So as soon as they come in, they're doing it? Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, all I see is a receipt stamp on this.
okay, is that one's for him?
So make sure we forward that to the
Okay,
finance committee. Another talent bank form received from Michael Zarella for a number of committees. All have been notified. He says that one they've all been
yeah,
notified.
I know, okay.
You know, there's nothing on this either, so maybe he did send it.
I'm sure it did.
He always does, so.
Oh, yeah, I see where he's, see at the top of this third one, he says seed, seed will,
That was me.
all right, so that one he's marked, so these two, one of them he says he did, one of them he says he didn't, so just make sure. So we got a third talent concern from Thomas Lobo, for Veterans Agent Assistant and Constable. Will has been notified. Yeah, it says CC Will. We have an official resume. Anybody want to? Water Tower Public Safety Lieutenant Board of Water Commissioners wrote to say that because the bids were open on March 19th, there was no not sufficient time to add an outrigger for the public safety antennas for the specifications for the project. Interested parties will meet on Wednesday, March 25th to figure out how to proceed.
So are you one of those people, Bob?
No, I'm gonna go because I really feel like this is an expense based on the painting of the tower. We have been diverting the revenue from the antennas to the water department to help with the cost of the bond. And nowhere in the safety departments do we have extra funds to pay for the outrigging of the antennas. And without the antennas, we can't talk on the radios, and we need the radios, they're crucial. So the fire chief thinks that the cost is only about $5,000, so we just need to figure out where it's coming from. That's all.
So because the bids went out,
Right, but I didn't know the bids are gonna, when I spoke with, at one of the finance committee meetings, I pulled Keith aside and explained, you know, we didn't have the money for the outrigger, and he suggested that we have the fire chief send a letter to the water commissioners, which he did. And then a couple of days later, we found out that they had already gone out to bid, so I'm disappointed, so we just need to figure out where we can come up with that $5,000.
well, if the bids come below,
Yeah, we can figure it out,
if
because
the
I know.
bids come below, yeah, because there's a letter there, Jason Faveras, we received your letter, Water Department include a provision in the bid specifications to budget up to $5,000 for installation on outrigger for mounting the 3 public
Right.
safety antennas.
Right,
Unfortunately, we're not able to, the job already had gone out to bid.
yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Moving you to 2040 workshop held in Brockton and Plymouth by the OCPC, Old Colony Planning Council, about planning for transportation services during the next 25 years, I notified town departments and completed the online survey. Snow plowing complaint, Mr. Gerald Kowalas wrote to the board complaining that highway department employees cleaned out the driveway of a private residence and, in doing so, moved the snow and trash from the private residence to Mr. Kowalas' residence. And Charlie's note, I can barely see it.
It says.
The highway department, the highway department, department wrote to say that work was done on the sidewalks in Mr. Kowalas' area, and that any snow that was relocated onto driveways while the work was being done was then removed. The department has said that if trash becomes exposed as part of this process, then the department will go to the location and remove it.
Which they already did.
Which they did.
So,
Thank you, Paul.
and I know that was an issue, I saw that on the news about in Boston and in all the cities. I mean,
Well,
there's a ton of trash you couldn't pick or move, and
well, just think about those people that have dogs and they go out there when the snow melts and all those traps that are in the lawn. This is the same way with the trash. The wind blows it into it, it settles up. I think we ought to send a letter to Mr. Kowalas and saying that we heard from the highway department that they said they had completed or corrected the situation. Otherwise, we'll get another letter saying you can do it.
a second?
Second.
Okay, I don't remember standing on the letter on all that, but thank you for your concern. I mean, is highway kind of conversation?
You know, Charlie would have,
Right.
basically what I would say, we were in receipt of your complaint concerning the trash and snow removal, doing the snow removal, and our understanding by the highway department has been corrected.
Yeah, have you had conversations with them as well?
No.
Just went on there. You're gonna see a lot more trash out there just from regular. Okay.
Well, of course, the highway's doing all that sort of stuff.
But why don't we just do this before I move on to the 8:30 hearing? Recycling complaint. A whole bunch of them tonight. They're not recycling complaints, but we just had these potholes, and Larry McDonald complained about that the recycling has not been picked up. He was told that the FY13 recycling bill remains unpaid and a copy of the bill has been sent to him. He has declined to pay it. So is that how that works? If you don't pay your recycling,
You don't get picked up,
you don't get picked up?
correct.
And the trash
Well, trash, you basically buy your bags, so.
Right. So
But-
that's, how does that work? The bill goes out, it has to be paid on X date, and then if it isn't paid, how long do they have before?
We usually don't actually stop picking people up until January 1st, so they actually have, the bill goes out in September, and we really don't do anything, because I try to do calendar years, because it's easier for the stickers. And then January 1st, we don't pick you up until you pay.
All right, so it's been dealt with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It says no action to be taken. Charlie simply wanted the board to be aware of the issue in case Mr. McDonald or one of his supporters have contacted the board.
Next.
Supporters?
Next.
All right, well, we have an 8:30 meeting. Susan's here, new recycling truck?
Is it on the parking lot?
Recycling?
they have to build it first.
Build it,
A little bit
they will
information.
come, if they do it.
Yeah, if they build it, people will come back. I don't know if Charlie left pictures of the new truck,
We need your pictures.
because he was gonna photocopy it.
He's got a funny from last year.
I don't need a picture.
Picture?
Oh,
It's on the folder, there's pictures inside the green folder.
oh, okay.
That is the green.
Oh, 'cause I didn't see it in here.
Well, we got color.
Folder.
Oh.
Well, that's what it'll
You
look
said
at.
so, right?
Does it know you liked it?
That's what the truck will look like, except it would be the same color green as the current truck.
It's
Oh.
this color, but it's
Personal.
So it's the same-
Say that.
Are these three different trucks, or this is the
Yes.
same
Yeah.
truck?
But this is the truck, but it would be green.
Oh, so that's just the color, but that's the truck?
Yes, yes.
All right,
So
okay.
Sue came before, I'm so tired tonight, I apologize. Sue came before the capital planning and explained the truck, so here she is.
MP 8000 is the most thought through refuse recycling body built. It's got a hot body on it, huh?
Yep.
And, well, go ahead, tell us.
Well, basically, I mean, I gave you the sheets that, have the figures on it,
Okay.
but this truck will hold a lot more recycling because it will compact. Less time driving to Brockton to dump it. And this truck would be single stream.
Which is huge.
Yeah. Single stream's nice.
You know,
And everybody's doing single stream. It's, we're kind of,
well, we just can't follow everybody.
I think
keep
the
up with the
residents
Joneses.
will be so happy.
Yeah. So,
Are you driving?
no, I'm not driving it. And our other trucks, broken down so far this year 3 times.
And what's the cost on repair?
Well, the repair wasn't actually that expensive. It was,
I don't have my stuff.
Days out of service,
I don't have
covering
any
it, bringing in another truck.
paper on those.
it cost us $2,100 last time the truck broke down, because it broke down for 3 days. So
if
$700
the out of
a day.
service time that kills your motor.
Yeah, we had the trash company came and picked up the recycle, I mean, they recycled it, but, so we had to pay an out of, we had to pay a private company to come pick the recycling up. And so far this year, up until the end of February, we paid $4,328 in truck repairs, and last year, we paid $3,800 in
How
truck
much
repairs.
time off the road are we talking about with these? And you said one was 3 days. How much time through the year have we lost?
The last 2 years has been 5 days.
But the truck is 9 years old.
Yeah, we bought the truck in November of 2006.
Was it new?
Yeah, it was brand new.
Wow, makes me old.
And the nice thing about this new truck is it's going to save us about 8 hours in
So
travel.
actually, it was 5 hours, total of 5 hours.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Be quiet now.
It was,
5 hours a day?
no, 5 hours a week.
Okay.
Because I actually put in our budget to up the recycling truck drivers' hours because there's so much recycling out there. And if we get the new truck, we won't have to up his hours because it's going to be less time. When he goes to Brockton, he has to pull in, weigh the truck, dump the newspapers, re-weigh the truck, dump the commingles, and then leave. The single stream, he'll only dump once. And the new truck will hold 4 to 5 tons, where our current truck only holds 1.5 to 2 tons.
So less trips to Brockton.
Brockton.
You got gas mileage you're gonna save on.
Yep.
But you're leaving the hours the same from last year?
Well, right now, he's 28 hours. And, yeah, I think just to see how it goes, I'm hoping, that it would bring it down. And because it's a whole new process too. He's gotta roll the roll-offs over, hook them on the truck, press a button, have them dump. I mean, it's gonna be a learning curve to that.
So single stream is, everything goes in the same bin,
Yep,
which saves time picking up.
yep.
Uh,
And no
it-
blowing,
it
no less
holds-
litter.
It holds 3 times more, so you can do more
Less trips.
routes in the day,
Yes,
so there's less trips.
to the dump.
And you're saying you think you'll only save 5 hours
That's
a week on that?
That's just going to Brockton. Now, as he starts progressing and gets the learning curve, we could save more time at the curb. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like a lot of time savings, completely 2 different animals.
Well, the other part of this is we'd have to buy totes. to do the single stream. I mean, to do the single stream in those little buckets doesn't seem like it would be, you know.
It's not advantageous.
Right. These have covers on them, so they're not gonna get wet. And they're not gonna blow on a windy day, recycling's not gonna blow down the street.
The weight on these things are what? How many times does the truck weigh without?
How much does the truck weigh?
Yeah. The outfit. The only reason I ask is that every time I come down my street, that brand new street you broke up, you know, that you repair and everything,
Yeah.
have you been down and looked at it lately?
Well, no, have you been around town lately?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, it's a big garbage truck came down, and I'm not saying it's hard or not, but there's a big crease all the way down there was a frost heat was up, and the truck came down.
I would say that truck's probably gonna be about 26.
I don't think it's the hollow, you're not gonna get the hollow sound out of it. Because that was more of a sheet metal. This looks a lot more,
I agree with them that the single hull and everything is gonna have time on it, because I know, I see the truck on the rock, and there's my granddaughter's elementary school across the street.
Oh, okay.
And changes, so.
so we're
How
gonna,
we're gonna pay for this?
Retained earnings. The balance of the retained earnings right now is $287,634.
In the truck?
The truck is $215,277,000.
7,700?
Sorry, 7,700. Yeah. And the other, but the problem what we're gonna have with the money is the totes. Because the totes are going to cost $93,525. They're $48 a tote plus $4.25 to deliver them, and they'll stamp them with serial numbers, so we'll know whose tote belongs to who. And I'm applying for a grant that would give us $20 a tote, but we need $2,900.
That's what I was saying, how many totes do you need?
2,900,
93,000,
about
that's-
2,900.
So you're saying one for each resident?
Yeah,
Wow.
more for each household.
per
That's what I'm
household, yeah.
saying, that's what I meant. Even the summer ones and,
Well, if they're paying a recycling bill, whoever has their own recycling through the town, whoever has their own, how do you determine from year to year who would have their own?
yeah, I guess my question would be, especially in the neighborhood I live in, where would you put these on the street? You know, if we have another occurrence like we have with snow now, where would you put the totes that they would be available for the truck to pick them up and the residents to deal with? Some people don't have, you know what I'm talking about, you know, that the big driveways or streets are narrow.
Well, in your driveway. You're like in the corner of your
But
driveway?
you don't have a driveway,
Oh, well, I don't know.
because there are some people
Yeah.
in my area who don't have driveways.
I suppose that would be kind of like on a case-to-case basis, you know, like we do in Live Lane, they all put them in one spot.
No, it's gonna be a viable question as to where it's gonna snow, because we every year say that you can't park on the street when it snows in the winter months, which is, it's a reasonable thing to say, but for some people it's unreasonable because they don't have any place else to park their
Yes.
car. The tote's gonna be, I imagine, at least half the size of a car, the average car.
The tote is 96 gallons, so it probably stands about that high.
55-gallon drum.
Yeah, it's about that wide.
Are they on wheels?
Yeah, two wheels.
And the truck can actually hook and,
Yeah, it's not an arm, there's just these two little
Hooks.
metal hooks that stick out. He'd pull it, you know, he would personally push it
It's
over.
like a forklift.
it's like
Yeah.
Holloway or one of those, they come, they grab, there's a barrel on the
Yeah,
barrel.
basically,
And
yeah,
they lift the barrel up.
yeah.
And instead of separating your plastic and your paper, is that
Everything would
going
be
in
together.
one barrel?
The problem too is the processors are all, eventually they're all going single stream. So we're not gonna have any place to put our dual stream. We're gonna have to pay, like right now where we get paid for the newspaper, we're down to $13 a ton, it used to be 50. And we also have to pay to get rid of the commingles. We used to get paid $10, now we're paying 45. So what's gonna happen is when we go single stream, we pay 45 for everything. We lose that $13 revenue, because now it's all mixed and doesn't have any value.
Only in the sense that they've got to separate it now and we don't.
Right.
They'll make the money off of it.
Right, but they're also, they're processing it so they can make the money off it. So eventually, let's say we stayed dual stream. Well, if all the plants go single stream, we'd still be separated, but it's still gonna be processed single, because there's no way to put it.
So for the whole deal, you're talking $318,000, $320,000.
Yeah. Yeah,
How do you keep from somebody putting other things in there besides recyclable?
that he's gonna have to watch, and I went to a meeting the other day at a single stream plant, and they said what they do is they tend to target neighborhoods. So he'll do, he'll be on a super lookout for one certain neighborhood for a certain amount of time, and then he'll go around and, because the biggest fear is someone putting something in those bins that doesn't belong there, because you can't see it.
No, unless you open it up and then depending on what's packed in there.
Right, so he's gonna have to watch.
How has other towns dealt with it? I mean, that's the way they deal with it?
Other towns, I forget what town it was, who was there, they actually take that and they put it right on your front lawn.
That's not gonna be going well.
So like someone put a motor, like or a car motor, on a
Mattress.
motor, or, something that, like brake pads. They actually took the brake pads and they left them on the front lawn.
Because they're not recycling metal.
No, we do down there, but
Plastics
not
and
her.
cardboard. Right, plastic and cardboard, plastic bottles. What if somebody thinks something's plastic and it's not plastic? I know
Then-
there's some types of plastic, like pools, those little plastic pools.
Yeah, well, those wouldn't fit in the bin anyway, so we don't have to worry about that. But it's, I'm sure, people will put things in there, they have a percentage of items that they get at these plants that they know they're gonna get it. They actually said 12% of the recycling that comes into Avon is garbage.
So they're gonna figure anything more than that, you gotta correct, or
They're gonna
the
correct.
town has to correct.
Right.
So there's no way unless you get clear.
Clear
barrels,
recycling bins, which would be
clear
really
recycle
nice.
bins, see what's going on.
Yeah.
It's an issue. So that means that the individuals with the green tags are no longer existing.
Basically, yeah.
So will residents won't be paying this initial, they'll only pay for replacement? Or the residents will be paying?
I think that's, I don't have all the, kinks worked out, I guess. I don't know what we would do.
I would say that if we purchased the first one and something happened to it, unless it was our era, that the homeowner would replace it on their own.
Yeah, but what do you do, like, when
That's
a
what
new resident moves in,
Oh,
and our stock's all gone, I don't know what we would,
I think,
Well, initially, I know with the buckets, they give you the first one. And then if you lose it, you have to purchase the next one, as long as you keep a record of, what residents received it. You
Yeah.
which barrels are theirs, if that thing takes a hike.
right, because it's, like I said, they'll, when they deliver them, they'll have a serial number and they'll,
Okay.
all that, they'll take care of all that.
I think these are little things that are worked out. First of all, we got to get them first, and I guess my step question is that you get $287,000 retained right now. Where's the other $32,000 going to come from?
Well, the other issue was leasing the truck for 2 years or 3 years, so that we don't have to drain the
So
income.
all you can worry about is paying the $93,000 out
Right,
initial cost for the buckets.
right.
Rental fee per month?
That, I actually have it, I think 3 years was gonna be like $13,000.
I think because we have the money in retained earnings, I'd rather not pay interest on something if we have the money in retained earnings.
But the problem was there's not enough to buy all the bins.
I thought we had talked about that, Sandy. I thought we had enough in retained earnings to do the bins as well.
No, we looked into it afterwards and we do not have
Oh,
enough.
we did? Okay, so-
We could put money towards it, but there would still be a fee left over. So, and that would be draining,
Right, we don't want to
draining it.
retain
Would probably still have to ask for like $8 or $9 per bin. So
Ask $8 or $9 per bin.
that's what would have left over. So either we're asking the resident to pay $8 or $9 for the bin, or we find another way to fund it. Right now,
Well, I mean-
recycling can't, the retained earnings in recycling cannot pay for the truck outright and
right.
and the amount for the bins.
Well, is there enough to pay half of the bins?
Yeah, but what half the town gets them?
Well, well, let me finish. Because right now, how many residents are actually using the recycle right now? And when would you know about the grant?
July, but it's for July 1st, the grant.
Would you know about that any sooner? That would help bring us back into what we have in the retained earnings. If we had the grant, would that cover?
She's already.
No, I've already
No,
figured
that's
the
net.
grant. I'm already
That's
Well, you already
figuring
figured
we're
the
gonna
grant.
get the grant. I would be shocked if we didn't.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's pretty confident,
no.
but
What are
the
we
other thing
getting?
is we think that more people will be using this service than before because it's gonna be so much easier. So we have to sort of plan on more people using the
Yeah.
recycling service.
You don't
And
have to worry about that.
No, I think it will. I don't
Yeah.
think it'll be an immediate reaction. And when does the new numbers come out?
Not until, you don't get your new retained earnings until September.
September?
Well, no, October probably,
October?
yeah.
I mean,
And one of the issues is the retained earnings actually went down last year.
right, because of we're not earning as much on, right.
How much are we getting for the truck, the trade-in?
He said I talked to him yesterday, he said he could take 10,000 off the top. Just seems like an awful low amount for a huge truck like
I'm
that,
sure the
doesn't it,
body,
you know?
not so much, but the truck itself.
And they're still sure that, have we looked and see whether the other towns would be interested in seeing a truck
He-
that might, small enough and may still want to use a double truck like that?
He said he asked around, and the gentleman who designed the truck, because we deal with Frederickson's,
Right.
who does the front, and then this other company does the back, and they both have been asking around, but the problem is nobody wants a dual string truck
Right.
anymore.
Because it's absolutely.
No one wants to go backwards.
Right.
I mean, is that truck, could you outfit that truck for a highway truck?
Do we make it a fire engine?
No, I mean, you know what I mean, take the bed off? You know, no, that's not set up
Plus it
that
keeps
way.
breaking down, it's 9 years old, so.
Oh, you know, I don't know, what is breaking down on it?
Oh,
I mean, his truck's down there a lot older than that,
The chassis itself is too long,
for any use.
yeah, for us.
Is the axle all the way back too?
The axle?
Yeah. The axle's too far back to be using it for any highway?
Yeah.
I mean, 10,000 would help with this,
yeah, no, yeah, I would.
but then you'd be shy, how much?
20,
Still,
25.
still shy 20?
Yeah.
What is your expectation if this should just pass, or getting the truck or putting it online?
Well, if everything went and we got the go-ahead, the truck wouldn't be ready till October at least, because by the time you order it and then they put it together.
Well, this is a town meeting too, right?
Yeah.
We have to approve it first, town meeting, right?
Well, we have to put it on
It's on the
the
warrant,
warrant.
it is.
So, what you're looking for is our affirmation that this is a good deal to buy it?
Yeah, I guess.
I think the purpose is just letting us know what's going on with the
Yeah.
truck, going to single stream. I mean, I just found out tonight that we aren't gonna have enough money in retained earnings, so we can sort of figure that out, what another approach
Yeah,
would be.
30,000, sure.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
I mean, I don't think myself, you're not gonna, if the truck isn't on the road till October, you think every resident in town is gonna take one of these and start using them? Every single resident?
No, I think you're gonna get a certain percentage that are going to do it, just from the track record, but it's so much more convenient for people. They don't have to, especially for
Oh, I
people that
agree.
can't
Right.
carry heavy things, or have 3 or 4 bins that have to lug down to the curb. They won't have to do that anymore. Everything just goes in there and you just wheel it down.
Yeah, but I like visiting on Saturday, I like coming down there,
Yeah,
You
and,
still
yeah,
can?
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not carrying that barrel down there with me.
We haven't done any lease options on vehicles in the past either.
We've been thinking about it for the fire engine. This is the first vehicle that we're considering, capital planning is considering.
Well, I know it's been brought up before,
Yeah,
and we just pushed back on the lease option.
yeah, mostly because we haven't wanted to pay the interest. But when it comes to something like the fire engine at $760,000, there isn't going to be an option to have that money available at once to pay for something. So that's why we're actually exploring that option. But where we have the bulk of it, and I know we don't want to drain that retained earnings down to nothing, but where we do have some of the retained earnings, we need to sort of just look at that and figure out, it's really the bins that becomes the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any problem whatsoever, at least in my opinion personally, with the person in the truck, because obviously it's a good deal. And I'm on the same page that Mike's on, in the sense that, do we really need all of those barrels? And I understand that you might want, even if they would find a town to take them right away, you want to keep some in stock, so if somebody
Right.
should ask, you'll put them down. I realize that, we can't. I'm just trying to figure out some way we could do the whole bundle without draining.
Well, that's it,
Yeah.
How about starting out with purchasing a truck and keeping the same containers we have now?
Well, would that work? Or how do you document the?
Oh, it goes in the side of the truck just like the other one.
Oh, okay.
It's a little box.
So it drops down, you're still good, okay. Because I thought that once you get this single line
You need the bucket.
that you need the bucket.
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, that's good.
Then we might be able to discuss this.
Yeah.
Maybe when you if you're giving them the new one, they're gonna return the old one, you can give those to other residents or have them on hand for free now, because right now you have to pay for them. How many you got left down there now?
A lot, because I wanted to, because plastic went up, so I bought in bulk, figuring, save the money. So yeah, no, I have a lot of bins.
So maybe residents that don't have as many, every year buy another 500, and another year buy another 500. I don't know.
Yeah,
Would that be fair? And then you'd have those
I mean,
here to deal with.
to me, I would rather, if we did, just like Bobby said, did the buckets for the first year, but I would like the goal to be go with the totes. It's the most convenient.
Right.
And people who have small homes can leave that tote outside. It has a cover.
I think we're all in agreement that, the truck is the truck.
It's,
10 grand's awful light,
well, I understand what you're
and
saying.
the buckets are expensive. I mean,
Yeah, well, the buckets are labor intensive in the sense that if buckets are there, then all the person that's driving the truck's got to slide them over, lift them up, and the big machine
Right.
can all toss them in. Whereas if you still got to go pick it up by hand, it's all each individual thing, and it's a labor intensive.
The only good thing with that though is the reason that it takes them a long time sometimes doing the route is because people don't separate.
They don't separate them.
At least he wouldn't have to separate at the curb because it wouldn't matter. You could have 5 bins, they could all be mixed, he just has to dump them. He doesn't have to spend, so much time looking at them. So we'll still save time.
Okay. Just labor.
Yeah,
well, I mean, you're gonna cut labor no matter what.
yeah,
It just depends on
Just
to
drive.
what degree, and like you say, a learning curve.
yeah.
So maybe at the end of next year, you'll have a better feel and say, yeah, no problem, we can shift this from this to that, or,
So will we be meeting again to discuss this before?
Eventually we'll have to have a bucket discussion, but.
Yes, yeah, we'll talk about the bucket.
Don't kick the bucket.
but yeah, you can't get the truck without having, you can, but you can't, If you can find a way that you could get the truck and then some of the buckets that you think you'd be comfortable and the residents will be comfortable, that's what you guys will have to figure out.
Right.
Yeah.
More than us.
You're working on
You
trying to get
guys.
a grant now to cut.
Well, and
cost
that's the
in
other
half.
thing too, I don't want to order half and then lose the grant.
Yeah, that's.
That's $20 a tote.
Oh, you think they won't give you the grant if you don't buy the whole thing?
No, they'll give me the grant once. So if I only
Oh,
buy,
right.
Yeah,
so
You'll have to make sure that,
I want to get
are
as
they
much money
are
from
they
them
a
as
once-time
possible.
grant, or are they like, I can apply for it every year?
Yeah, I want to say no, just because of the way the grants go, usually once, everybody gets a
we
turn.
can work on the financial end, between Sandy, you and I, we can sort of sit down and figure out a couple of different options.
Get money up here.
And is there anybody else you think you get a truck less?
That's the state contract.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's kind of hard to find a recycling truck.
Okay.
I saw it on the side of the road. But we can come back to the board and talk about.
Yeah, it's just, because it's a lot to think about right
Yeah.
now. Because, I mean, even if you can't get 100% of the bucket, you get maybe you can get 60, 70%, you know, bring it well down to where it can be.
Pam, do you have one of these? Do you?
Charlie actually has one of those, because I gave it to him. Yeah, I do have that, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's on the second.
thank you for your efforts.
That was,
Thank you, Bob.
And I still like going down on Saturdays and everything.
A lot of people are still gonna do that,
Yeah.
because they have to go to the gym.
Thank you, Sue.
all right, thanks.
Mr. Robert Bedore.
So,
Any more snow coming, Rob?
Oh,
Bob, any more snow coming?
No, we done it.
You're not, no, you're all done, shutting down?
From your
Father
mou-
Nature, Father Nature is
From your
moving.
mouth to the ears of Mother Nature, right? Okay.
Father Nature is just moving.
oh, no problem.
All right, let's go revisit back to 9 o'clock, chapter 32B, section 21 through 23. We kind of jumped.
We have nobody here for that, yeah.
Well, I want to make sure, I'll ask anybody in the audience, do you even know what it is?
You want me to move it again?
Well, I want to say, hold on. This we got acceptance vote tonight at 9 PM. Certified letter sent out to bargaining units. This would not be the night to vote on any possible changes. However, the board can consider whether to start the process of a possible change to being eliminating the hold harmless agreement signed a number of years ago when Mayflower changed the co-pays on its plans at the time. The hold harmless agreement set up a system that the reimbursement employees who paid more in their increases in co-pays, then they saved in premiums according to the assessor.
Charles suggested that we ought to vote on accepting 21 to 23. And then when Charlie's here, we can have a deeper discussion because he's done research on that.
Yeah, that's,
And as far as making any changes, I don't see us doing that tonight.
no, we voted, well, we can vote on acceptance of the section 21, 23 of chapter 32B. But there'll be further discussions on what, this is what Charlie, all the board would do tonight is accept section 21 through 23. Charlie proposes the changes to the hold harmless agreements. There are a number of steps to take before moving forward on that. Accepting the section does not change any of the plans. It does allow the board to change the plans at some future time. Also, Charlie specifically notified all the unions by certified mail to that decision would be tonight. So is anybody here in regards to any of that insurance acceptance of section 21 to 23 for the Mayflower insurance? Anybody here that, any
Going once
comments?
or twice?
All right, so the previous vote, we'll see.
I moved that we reaffirm the previous vote that we took at, what time was it, 7:38?
Earlier
Earlier in the meeting.
second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. See, it's 9 o'clock, we just did the, do you have an ambulance abatement?
Yeah, we have a correction, so I move that we abate for the month of February the amount of $11,938.18.
Second.
And correct it to,
No, I just
oh,
corrected
okay.
that.
The old amount was
1 cent off.
$11,938.19. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Recycling truck,
Sorry, discussed that already.
puddle damage, Joshua Derone, 19 Powder Mill Road, filed a claim for a loss occurred on February 22nd. To ensure decline to pay the claim as the town had not previously been notified about potholes. Is this the petition? Gonna catch up in the mail. This is the repair. Waste. Claiming it to the town, multiple. It's Trident. This is a letter to. Town of Halifax. So it's Town of Halifax that claimed the,
No,
The
the
claim.
town didn't decline, our the insurer for the town declined it because there was nothing on record showing that the individual or anyone had notified the town that pothole existed.
you received your letter addressed and insured, which the alleged damages to the vehicle resulted in striking a pothole over 58 near the insurance intersection of 58 and 106 on. As our insured did not receive sufficient prior notice of the defect, they cannot be found to be negligent for failing to repair it in time to avoid your accident. We hereby take the position that our insured is not responsible for your claims, and we will make no voluntary offers of settlement. We reserve the right to restrict further future defenses if necessary. Right, so that's FYI. Fire station sign. Chief would like to replace the sign on the building. We'll be working with the Historic Commission, the District Commission, but would like any comments from the board.
Did we get a design, what kind of sign we put there?
He's taken a couple of stabs at it, but he needs to go see, John Shea. That's not the latest. So he's
It
working.
looks like, sorry, is this the sign on it?
That's the existing sign.
And this is what I'd like to.
Well, that was version 1 and
Alright.
2, so it's still in process. And, as soon as historical weighs in, he will then bring it to us, because it doesn't make sense if we like
Well,
it if it's
Yeah,
not in
I see
compliance.
no reason for them to be making comments tonight, unless we
Right.
get the final
Yeah.
design as to what he wants to put on the
Right.
building. You know, because it would be ambiguous.
Well, it's tough to comment on something you don't
Yeah.
know what it
So it's
is.
just
But do you
not
have any
right.
comments in general about replacing the sign down there, or
Any
why
kind
are
of-
we replacing the sign, or?
I think anytime that we can make any kind of improvements on the town buildings and cost effective, it's worthwhile.
Is it because nobody sees it, or, I'm just curious on the reason for replacing the sign. Because that's the current sign right now, right?
That's a question that we can simply fire chief and ask him.
Right? I mean, that's my only comment. Why are we looking to replace the sign?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Any other comments like that, or questions from the board? No? So that's just one. We got one question.
No, I will go talk to the fire chief. with my
Why are we
question.
replacing the sign? So if he's looking for a comment from the board, that's the comment from the board.
Okay.
Well, my comment anyways. All right. Pothole damage claim 2. Frank Bartolomeo of Hemlock Drive, Bridgewater, Mass. Filed a claim for damage caused on March 16th. I've forwarded the claim to the insurance company. And it looks like $1,663 and change. Tire replaced front, 27 pothole, Halifax. Mount balance, custom supplied, used tire, labor to replace custom supplied, windshield wash. Anyways. Chapter 61A land, because Nazarella has notified the town of its intent to lease 9 acres of the land for a solar field on his property at 69 Summit Street, next to the soccer field, even though it has not been sold because he is taking it out of Chapter 61A. The town has the opportunity to purchase the land. To do so, the town must contact with a consultant, with a consultant to conduct an independent appraisal. Since this would have to be within 30 days of the notification, I would have to ask the Finance Committee for a transfer from the reserve fund. In addition, the board would have to place an article on the warrant in the annual or special town meeting on May 11th to purchase the land. If by that point there was no interest, the article could be passed over. In the comment, Charlie needs a direction from the board as to whether they want to proceed to hire an appraiser for the property. If the appraiser is not done within 30 days, in essence, the town has relinquished its rights to the property.
You know, well, first of all, I would like to know what we would do with the property if we purchase it, what it's good for. I think maybe we need to send notice out to the Department of Conservation, whatever, to find out whether or not it is any interest in the property before we get an appraiser to go out.
I don't think that there was much of an appetite at town meeting to be purchasing land, and
I think it was the appetite, well, it was within 3 votes to 2/3. So I think more the appetite wasn't, they didn't want a cemetery there.
Well,
Looking at it, I
the
think
piece
that
of
was a lot
property
of-
we're talking about
Right.
was basically 3/4 of it was water, wetland, and changes. And the thought was, if you mind for the cemetery, how deep do you have to go into water?
Yeah. No, I didn't get that as much as,
what I got.
they didn't want to see funerals on weekends across the street from their house. Not that we'd be over there, but that's where I got out of it. I mean, it was 3 short of 2/3. But again, you know, we've sent it out to the departments if there was any interest. I think we should still send it out to the departments. We're not meeting for 3 weeks. When did we get this notice?
we have 30, it would have to be done within 30 days of this notification.
Right. And the next meeting is in 3 weeks.
No,
When did we get the
I think
notice?
we're gonna meet before then, I mean, we have to go over the warrant at some point, so I can't imagine we would wait 3 weeks for a meeting.
Well, we have another meeting Tuesday,
Yeah,
so that's not to say,
we could bring it up again.
you know, I mean, I'd still send it out to the departments to see what comes back.
I don't
Just to be
believe that
consistent.
we should be notifying Charlie that we've been an appraiser if there's no
No.
interest or any changes.
No, right.
The notice to the departments, I think, is the one way we can go, and if we get some interest in it, then we can discuss that.
How many acres is down there?
9 says is one.
9 acres? And I know, you know, the only one I think would possibly be interested, right off the top of my head, would be Youth and Rec, because they have a soccer field down there. But that's the only one I can think of. But just to be consistent, it's here, it's off of the departments, the chance to get some feedback, and if we can get that done, we'll move to the next step, see what comes up. If there's no appetite, like you say, for any of the departments to even consider it, then we'll pass over. But is there a time limit on having the article put on?
We'd
No,
have to
I won't.
open the warrant, and we'd have to,
Yeah, but what is the deadline?
Well, the thing is, it makes no sense to put it on the warrant, we
Right.
haven't got an appraisal, we're going to present it town, what we're going to use to build on it, and how much it's going to cost.
So can we assume that we can be able to still do that within 30 days? And that still will make the warrant, if in fact something happens?
We received this notice when? Just to deal with the letter.
320 is
So
on
a week is already
this.
passed.
It's not a letter, this is
Well,
the
no.
notice.
A week is already passed.
Certified letter is actually March 9th.
Yeah, but when did we receive it in the office?
Via US certified mail, notice of intent to convert land to other uses. And that letter's dated March 9th, so it's been longer than that.
So we've got almost 2 weeks already in the books.
Right.
So by the time our next meeting, the 30 days will have lapsed.
Well, send it out to the departments, we need a response back by next Tuesday. I don't know, I mean, I think it's the fair thing to do and see if anybody's interested, and see what they got to say. at minimum. That sound all right?
Sounds no good to me.
Yeah, Kim?
That's all.
All right. So we'll do that? 9:15. We have a 9:15.
Yeah, all the bills.
John Chabot, non-binding referendum. Jim, scheduled appointments.
I have the paperwork on the referendum question. This is a ballot initiative. This is not going on the warrant per se. The request that I'm making is not put it on the warrant, but to actually go on the ballot on the May 16th election.
You sent something out in the mail, in the email, right?
Yep. Well, everybody get a chance to look at it.
I looked at it briefly. We didn't get a copy though, huh, Pam?
It's in your packet.
It is in here. It's not on the schedule, is it on there?
Right there.
Okay, okay. But yeah, didn't look familiar. All right, sorry.
Okay, so the, that's the language, a little background, the several of our group in the Republican Town Committee were interested in the, this particular issue, and with friends also talking about this issue. We wanted to be proactive and get something on the ballot if we could regarding to get some feedback for legislators. A little more background on the other part of the handout is these bills that are going to be should be coming out of committee and be up for a vote in 2015. This is all the legislation for Park and Common Core that's coming out of committee, and these are the only bills this year that will be coming out of that particular on that particular subject. The way it works is all the bills that are all presented in January. This is the these bills will be voted on sometime this year. My objective is twofold: to get a forum so that we can see what the town, how the town feels, how the voters feel about this particular subject. So along with the petition article, if you choose to put it on, these 4 questions are based on all of these bills that will be coming out. The bills fall into 4 subject areas. This is the only thing the legislature can do in terms of changing the law, which currently would be going to the Common Core standard and park testing. That's already essentially the existing law. So these are to change the law, these bills. What I am looking to do is to get a referendum from the citizens of Halifax, the voters, to see if they are in favor of or opposed to these particular laws, so that we can let our legislators know the feeling on that. The only other thing that can affect this particular subject is an executive order from the governor. But the governor can't put any more bills in, so this is the bills that are going to be on the subject this year. And we're not going to have another opportunity to essentially poll the citizens as to how they feel on this, because there won't, unless there's another town meeting, there won't be an opportunity to get the feeling of the voters on this particular subject. Now, these laws, if they come out of committee, are going to be voted on this year, and some of these could impact Halifax both financially and in other ways. And that's really kind of the background, and just want to know what questions you might have before we decide whether you would like to put this on the ballot or not.
When you say costs, what costs are you talking about?
Okay, well, there's one particular bill that is talks about reimbursing the town for, well, it would be a statewide thing, reimbursements for park compliance, any IT upgrade, which Halifax is going to be doing, would be reimbursed through the legislature. What this would do is defray some of the costs that we're gonna have, being in compliance with the park testing. My understanding is that the park testing has to be done by computer. We're gonna have to get some additional IT, that's information technology upgrades. And so this bill, if it passed, would have an opportunity to get us reimbursed. I'd like to know, so we can direct the legislature, our representatives and our senator, as to which direction Halifax wants. I would think that we would want to be reimbursed under this particular bill for any upgrades that we had to do. Once the bill goes to the vote, I wouldn't want our representatives to not know the direction the town wants to go in. There might be some towns that don't care about the reimbursements. I think Halifax wouldn't want that reimbursement because we're so tight now with money.
We don't need any more unfunded liabilities.
Yeah, and there's also an additional act on here that talks about the mandate of the essentially exempting individual school districts from having to take the standardized exam and or use Common Core. Right now, would be mandated to do such. If that particular bill passed, then we'd have the opportunity to do another type of less expensive testing than the park testing.
So they're giving us an alternative versus having no alternative other than what's in the initial bill?
No.
So you have the initial bill, and what you're saying, this would give us an alternative?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
No, you're saying this would give us...
Well, there's a bill in committee that would allow opting out for individual school districts as to whether they have to do the park testing or not. And that should represent the savings as well.
Okay. May I ask a question? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Park and Common Core. So Common Core has been around for a number of years. I don't serve on a school committee, but I attend many school committees over the last almost 15 years. So I've been hearing about Common Core for a long time.
Yep.
And I do remember the controversy when MCAS came. That was the second coming of the devil. And, you know, people are now trying to hold on to MCAS like it's the best thing since sliced bread right now. The only issue that I have is that we don't typically put non-binding things on, like we had one on marijuana, but that was brought down from the state. We don't normally do non-binding ballot questions because really at the end of the day, we have to follow the Massachusetts framework. And it's my understanding that that decision won't be made until the fall. And that without us having some sort of curriculum, it would be left up to Halifax themselves to develop their own curriculum. So I know that there was a letter that I received from the superintendent, and I forwarded it to Charlie, and I was hoping that he would print it out for the other board members, but he has been out sick, that talked about the town of Tewksbury who had passed a similar, I don't know if it was a similar ballot question. Did you mirror this from the one from Tewksbury?
No, this is mirrored exactly on the language in the bills themselves.
Okay, so any other towns have done this besides Tewksbury?
Yes, there's a town, last year, Lakeville did an article regarding it. Wilbraham is posing ballot questions in their town meeting this year.
But no other one, so Tewksbury did have one and they passed it, and then it was a response from the Department of Education. And perhaps maybe, John Tuck, if you don't mind, you could just do a summary of what that particular, because the other selectmen don't have a copy of it.
And I actually have a copy of the plan.
Oh, okay.
My name is John Tuffy. I'm the superintendent of schools. This was last Friday. Mrs. Roy mentioned to me that this was coming up before the board, and the school committee has not voted or taken a position on this. I don't mean to suggest that I represent what the school committee has to say, and I see there's some members here, and they certainly can speak for themselves. Mrs. Roy asked if I could come and perhaps talk about what I believe to be the state of the law and what we do, and understand that when it comes to testing, I'm agnostic. I really don't care what the test is. At this point in time, the state of the law is such that the Board of Education is required by law to come up with curriculum frameworks, not what we teach and how we teach it, but the frameworks of what we teach. And they do that, and they do it on a regular basis, has since the inception of ed reform back in 1993. Prior to that, school districts had much more latitude to come up with their own curriculum. And as Mrs. Roy suggests, we have not done that in 20 plus years. And at this point in time, we don't have the capacity to write our own curriculum. You know, there's a lot that's been said about Common Core, and I just really want to emphasize the curriculum we're following is the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks. There's clearly a heavy dose of what is in Common Core in it, but there's also districts are free, states are free to come up with 15% of the PART test, which is, well, 15% of the measurement tool that would be their own frameworks. Massachusetts has done that with math and ELA. They've also done that in terms of coming up with entrance exams or admission tests or benchmarking tests. And it's been called a number of different things for kindergarten, which is not even contemplated in PART or Common Core. We have a science requirement here in Massachusetts, which is not part of Common Core either. In terms of PART, at this point in time, Massachusetts is in year 2 of what they describe as a test drive. They have not made any decisions. The Board of Education, which makes the decision, was charged to come up with a decision this fall. Governor Baker, who has appointed a new chairman of the Board of Education, has asked the chairman to conduct a thorough review and hold at least 5 public forums around the state. Whether that means they'll still make that deadline or not, gosh, I don't know. Right now we're using MCAS. MCAS is a 17-year-old test. It certainly was designed at a different time and place. MCAS is a paper and pencil test. PARC at this point in time, which is one of two national tests that are aligned to standards, is both a paper and pencil test as well as an online test. It seems pretty clear that the future of testing is going to be online as opposed to paper and pencil. No matter what becomes the successor to MCAS, even if it is an MCAS test, just because test designs are so much different and the results are so much more immediate. Right now, students take MCAS exams in the late spring, and we do not get that information until the following fall. So any of that information is not available to us in terms of trying to group students in the next year's grade that they go to, or really use it in sort of real time to assess the learning that's happening in a classroom and whether or not changes have to be made. Online testing sort of addresses that, but what will ultimately show up and be done by the state remains to be seen. I guess it's a long way of saying I think that we may not have PARC. They may stay with MCAS. They may find yet another test. And in terms of the curriculum, it is not Common Core that we are using. It is the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks. I mean, you're absolutely correct. You have to change the law, and that is a major sea change in how we conduct education in Massachusetts. One of the questions, and you're kind enough to send it along to me, talks about returning control of education to local school boards. Well, that hasn't happened in a very, very long time. School boards run the schools, decide what the curriculum materials are that they use, but the actual curriculum itself, the frameworks about and standards that we follow are being set by the state. So I wouldn't describe it so much as returning as making a pretty big change in how we conduct schools.
When you say the state is going to have these seminars, when do you?
Governor Baker has instructed the new chairman of the Board of Education to hold at least 5. The number quoted in the paper was at least 5 sessions around the state.
When do they think?
No idea.
That the legislature will be able to vote on this sometime after that?
No, right now, and correct me if you have a difference, right now, Ed Reform said that the Board of Education makes a decision as to what has to do 2 things. On a regular basis, they need to review and change curriculum standards, and they have to supply a common assessment tool. It's been MCAS for 17 years. Whether that will change in the future remains to be seen. So it is the Board of Education that makes that decision. It's not the legislature. The legislature would have to change the law, and the legislature would then, well, whatever they decided to do, would become the new law.
And that's what these bills are. They would be new laws. So if they do pass, we will be subject to these 7 laws if they pass. They may not. My desire and goal is to get the feel of the Halifax voters as to how they feel about these questions. Rather than putting 7 separate questions on this initiative ballot, I brought it down to the 4 subjects that appear on there.
How would you educate the voters to what this is in time to actually get an honest feedback?
Well, we can set up a forum, much like the forum that we have for the warrant issues. I'm sure that we can get. Part of the problem is that there hasn't been proper debate on both sides of the issue with information. There's a lot of misinformation on both sides that might be going out, and this is really to clear up so that the legislature will get the direction that the Halifax voters want.
But I wouldn't want to put it on a ballot if we didn't have an informed voter. Like if we're rushing to get to May, this is a lot of information. Just the questions themselves are difficult to understand, and so that's a concern of mine is having an informed voter. And you're right, there's a lot of misinformation that's out there on both sides.
Sure.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, I know. You were trying to talk.
No,
But I also wanted
right
the point about Tewksbury at some point to be talked about.
Could you just give me your name so she gets the...
Certainly, Robert Slater, I'm on the Halifax School Committee. I just wanted to bring up one point. You had mentioned or had asked whether the school committee had actually debated this issue. The only recollection I have that this came up in conversation was, I believe, either right before the election or right after Governor Baker was elected. And the thought was that it would be prudent for us just to take a wait-and-see approach to see what changes the new administration might implement before delving deeply into this conversation. Personally, I thought that was a prudent and responsible decision. Until I heard about this ballot measure on Monday, that's where I thought the school committee stood, that we were all just sort of waiting and taking our time to see what happens. My personal viewpoint, and I express this today on social media, is I just think this is a little premature. The process is working now. We have a new governor. I think we sent a message to the governor when Halifax helped elect him into office. I think it's pretty clear what the attitude is among several of our citizens regarding Common Core. As a school committee member, I just would like to take a stab at this with my colleagues first. I mean, we haven't really even had the time to deeply vet this subject because there were so many changes in the administration, and it just didn't seem reasonable to expect that Governor Baker, within his first 2 months of office, was going to delve in and make fundamental changes to something that's so complicated and as you said, it is a very complicated issue. I just think it's reasonable for us to just take a wait and see approach, see what changes are being made here. If we don't like the direction it's going in, then it might be a good opportunity for us as a committee to maybe contact our elected leaders or state officials and then voice our viewpoint. But it just seems like when Ms. Roy said, this is being rushed very quickly before I think a lot of residents truly understand the complexities of this issue.
It's one question. I'll hold my comments there.
Oh, okay. Yes?
Me or Laura?
No, Troy's holding on, your hand was up.
Okay, sorry, Kim.
Just tell Pam, so.
I'm sorry, Linda, it's Miss Joshua. A couple things, wait and see. I think this is too big of an issue to wait and see. And as far as being symbolic, I think symbolism is very important. I think everything from our flag being symbolic to a Boston Strong t-shirt is symbolic. We need to get people aware of this. A lot of people have no idea what it's about. And those of us who've been researching it for a while are frustrated that a lot of people don't understand it. And I just wanted to say a couple details from it. The National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers own the Common Core standards and have placed a copyright on the control to how they are used. So it's copyrighted. While these two groups have very official sounding names, they do not have the authority to act on behalf of the states. They're simply private trade organizations that the governors and the state superintendents join. The NGA and the CCSSO contracted Achieve Inc. to write the standards. Achieve Inc. included no high school English teachers or college professors of English on its working group that drafted the standards. Further, the mathematics working group included an inadequate number of professors of mathematics. Instead, the writing teams were dominated by representatives from the publishing and testing companies, as well as the bureaucrats from the education establishment. The final standards were submitted to a validation committee for final approval, where two content experts refused to validate as college ready. And I would say, why are we signing on to Common Core? Massachusetts was #1 before Common Core. Race to the top should have been called Race to Massachusetts. Why throw out what we're doing for something that is untested? Quote, Diane Ravitch, who worked for both Bush and Clinton in their education departments, writes how the reformers, to me the translation of the people who are going to make money from this reform, skew the facts to make us think that our education needs to be fixed. And they're the only ones who can help, of course. Well, the state of Massachusetts, Minnesota, and Colorado volunteered to participate in a test called the Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study, and ranked among the top performing nations in the world. If you had taken Massachusetts as its own country, as an independent nation, we would have ranked second in the world behind Singapore. So there is a lot of misinformation out there, and I find that anytime I read something that's positive Common Core, there was an article, oh, Children First, this man worked at, and he was talking to Pro Common Core, and I linked it. Children First, I believe it's called. Bill Gates, sure enough, Bill Gates funded it. So it seems like between the no evidence that it works, why are we waiting? My son's textbooks say Common Core aligned in his textbooks now. Like, we're already going into Common Core right now. It's not waiting for it. This is unconstitutional. It gets the 10th Amendment. 10th Amendment. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited to its states, or reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. This is coming down from the federal government. They're saying it's state-led. It's not state-led. And yes, I want the states to be involved. Mr. Tuffy was saying about the states. Yes, the states should be the ones running the show. They talk about rigorous. Dr. Zimba, who's a lead math writer for Common Core, admitted in testimony, and I have the video if you'd like to see it, that the math standards were not high enough to get the kids into the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, higher level colleges that the parents would like to see them go, but it would basically get them into the lower schools. So the lead writer was admitting that the higher level, they're taking away calculus. I'm not a mathematician, I couldn't explain it better than that, but there are people a lot smarter than me that can look at it. And I suggest you look at it's a 40-minute documentary of building the machine that gives you details way better than I can. It takes away literature. They're doing informational text. They're collecting data, a lot of data, that we're losing control over what they know about our kids. The standards are very costly. Nationally, it's going to cost an estimated $15 billion. Kentucky, who implemented Common Core early, have seen a decline in student achievement. And the pilot tests are plagued with technical difficulties. So you're talking about rushing. They're rushing into all these tests when, again, we were number one. My father-in-law is a former principal and teacher assessor for the state of Connecticut, and he's appalled by Common Core. Teaching to the test is not where we want to be. I know my son, they're talking about how they handle anxiety for the MCAS. Well, Park is more testing. There's more hours testing. These states have signed out or never signed on or pulled out. Texas, Alaska, Nebraska, Minnesota, Missouri, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Virginia, North, and South Carolina. Why are we number one still in with the group to do this? We need to send a message that Halifax says we don't want this, and we have to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, whatever to say.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
no, lady behind you, John.
Thank you, Lori Costa Klein. I think that what you're being asked is not to make a position on Common Core. What you're being asked is to allow the town of Halifax voters to weigh in on this. And I attended the school committee meeting in October when the curriculum was on the agenda and Common Core was discussed. There were many passionate parents that spoke up with their concerns. At the time, the school committee said that they needed to wait and see. They also made it fairly clear that they were held powerless to make any decisions, any direction or changes, because they were adopting the Massachusetts framework, which the subtitle says Common Core. We are teaching our children with Common Core. We asked the curriculum coordinator to be attending that meeting to explain to us the differences between the old standard and the new. She came to the meeting stating that she was told she didn't need to prepare anything. So as parents whose children attend and are learning under this framework, we're concerned. We want to know what our options are. And it was very clear by the board at that meeting that this was in the legislature's hands, that they couldn't make a decision absent of the legislator. Halifax doesn't operate in a vacuum. We don't want Silver Lake to operate in a vacuum, but a non-binding referendum question on the ballot asking the town to weigh in on what do you want is a great way to have this open discussion and to let our state legislator know how we feel. So whether you are for Common Core or against Common Core, I think it's worth putting it on the ballot and having some forums to let people discuss it and become educated to vote. There's always going to be apathy and people that don't pay attention, but that's no reason to avoid putting something on a ballot.
That was the point I was going to make, is that I want the input from the voters so that our legislators will be able to make a decision. If it's not on the ballot, having a forum is almost a waste of time, because by putting it on the ballot, will galvanize people to want to be interested in coming to the forum, knowing that they will have to make a decision on May 16th on the ballot. Otherwise, I just don't think that there'll be enough. Well, the question on the ballot, I don't think there'll be the impetus for people to get involved in this subject and/or decisions. These potential bills are coming, whether or not we vote for them or not, and the legislature might choose to adopt these bills, and we're going to have to deal with them. So I just want to know how Halifax feels, again, for or against.
I listened to, and I like hearing the comments. The one thing that hasn't been brought yet, and let me explain, I have 3 people in my family that are teachers. 2 in the Brockton system, 1 in New York, and the difference between the 2. First of all, when I went to school, we didn't have all these tests. You either got A, B, C, or D, and put in your proposal to college, and you got it. I have not once heard anybody say whether this thing is good or bad for our kids. I haven't heard anybody make a comment yet. You can explain the laws all you want, but my question is, how will this affect our kids? Will it prepare them better for college and for going into the world? Or will it hurt them because other states may in fact have these things in place? Will it put us behind as far as the education for those kids? And these are the kind of questions that I have. I mean, putting it on the ballot is obviously a good way of getting comments, but the fact is that if I sit here and I read this, I really don't understand it. I really don't. And I don't consider myself a stupid individual, but I don't understand what it means by Common Core. You know, what's common? Well, common sense in my neighborhood meant that you didn't go out the street and you didn't hit the world's biggest bully and think you're going to get away with it. You know, that's common sense. Well, what's Common Core? I don't really understand. And that's the same question that individual voters, if you put this on the ballot, are going to want to know. They want to know what each one of these laws mean. If it changes, how does it affect my kid? And we can say all we want about what other states have done and anything else, but how is it going to affect the kids in Massachusetts? I know MCAT 17 years ago, and I can still remember the uproar about the fact you're going to test my kid, you know, so he can get in college. Well, who are you to do this, you know? And Kim's right. There are people now. I just spoke to my daughter and her husband, who both are teachers, doctor to assistant, and she showed me the thickness of the information that she has to do for testing and stuff on each one of those kids. I was, oh my God, when do you teach?
Exactly.
So those are my comments on it. You know, if somebody can answer that question, you know, but if my last statement is it's going to go on the ballot, whether we decide to not put it on the ballot or not, you need to inform the people so they know, because you still have the opposition, the opportunity to call your legislators, to talk to you. And if you do have a forum, they should be involved in it.
Oh, absolutely. I want both sides involved in the forum, because there are many questions that I have myself that I'm not sure are accurate. That a professional from the other side would be able to answer.
And I almost wish that we had done that before the ballot question that you had attended. You know, I had gone to the forum that was, I think it was last year, then I had the opportunity to go to a Department of Ed meeting, and you know, I brought up some of my concerns that came out of that forum. But let's put all this aside, because obviously I'm not on the school committee. I'm not the expert on curriculum. Typically, the mechanism in getting a ballot question on is 10% of the voters. So you need,
well, that's one
typically,
way, yes.
right. And then the other way is having the selectmen put it on.
Right.
The only concern I have, again, is that I have asked the town clerk, I asked some people to do some research to see if there was any other way, take the subject out, if there was any other instances that just a ballot question went on without providing the signatures that people really wanted it. And there hasn't been one. So my fear is that we're opening it up to other, like if we had another group of people that came to us and said, we'd like to know what the right color is for the town. I don't know, I'm just, like I don't want to minimize it either to just say, oh, it's just the ballot is, you can just ask for a ballot and yeah, we'll give you one. Like this is a pretty controversial thing, and it is a very important thing. And we do have experts that are working on it as well. We have, but I do like, I want to get back to the Tewksbury issue, which is Tewksbury had this vote. They sent the Department of Education's attorney, I think it was John, sent a response.
So, and if there's anything I'd like to be made clear, if this goes on the ballot, is that the school committee is not going to make any changes immediately, because the Department of Education has been very clear that as the law is now, that they can't make those changes. And I just think that the people ought to have the proper expectation of what will happen. And to Mrs. Roy's point, Tewksbury Town meeting last October was asked to vote on a question about authorizing the town to discontinue the use of Common Core standards and park as an assessment tool.
Is it non-binding?
It turned out to be non-binding. The general counsel for the Department of Education, a woman named Rhoda Schneider, who has been there under several different governors and several different commissioners, expressed the opinion that the law is that it is that the selection of the curriculum development and assessment is by law what the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has to do. And if you bear with me for just 1 second.
So the initial vote was assumed to be binding, then we found out.
Well, before they got to town meeting, they got the information, and according to her, Chapter 71, Section 37, as she writes, in short, the vote at the special town meeting might indicate a level of understanding and interest the town meeting members have, but does not affect the authority of the state or local education officials over a matter of curriculum and assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So if this goes forward, just to be clear, the school committee can't make any changes, not without legislative changes. They're not being disrespectful of the process or the community if they vote. The migration to the new standard started in 2011, so we are 4 years into it, and we will continue on that course until we get a new direction from the Department of Education.
So none of the school committees have taken this up or voted on it, or so really you don't have which direction you're heading in with this at all at this point.
Well, they can't vote anything but the Massachusetts framework.
Well,
But you guys haven't brought it up as a committee on what it involves, whether you're in favor or not, or
Who are you addressing that question to?
I think I've talked to the chair. I don't remember being in a meeting where this came up. This was all new to me last Friday.
As I mentioned a little bit earlier, there was a very brief discussion, and forgive me, I don't remember if it was in the December or the January meeting, where one of the members had brought up the possibility of discussing this issue and perhaps writing something to our legislature in support of challenging Common Core. And I can't speak for everybody else, but my thoughts at the time was, we have a new administration coming in now. It was clear, at least it's clear to me, that Charlie Baker, some of his attitudes regarding education reflect his constituents. And I thought it would be prudent to just wait, and this is what I suggested, let's just wait till he settles in and see what he offers, because it's one thing to be against something, but I have not seen what the alternative would be yet. And that's my biggest concern. Yeah, we can say, Park has flaws, and believe me, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm not a big fan of it. And in fact, our school committee voted not to implement it this year because we had concerns about it. So we think we are being proactive. Part of the issue that I have is that I wish that we'd had an opportunity to have this discussion and vet this in front of the entire board before it got to this point. But to my recollection, nobody ever asked to put this on an agenda item. Nobody asked to have a further discussion after the initial discussion we had prior to Governor Baker taking over his new position.
So right now there's a lot of news and a lot of buzz about it. Like you said, social media, there's a lot of buzz and nobody's talking about it. Is this an avenue that maybe this is one way to get people to stop talking about it? Maybe that's
Talking about
I
it
mean,
on
like
social
Kim
media.
said, we're not talking about paint. This is a very complex issue, and yet we're
It
not
deserves
talking
respect.
about it. Nobody's talking about it. So
see, nobody has said to me, and I'll have to say it again. Nobody said to me, is it good or bad? How does it affect the kids?
We don't
I mean, we
know.
can talk
We don't
about
know.
the
It's
fact that
never
the
been tested.
legislative stuff. Then we need to get, we need to get experts down here to in fact talk about it, because unless we're really clear, well, how are we going to talk to other people? We don't want to get Methodist faced out. And right now, it's still, the referendum, at this point in time, I don't know if I would vote to do a referendum at this point, because we put a referendum on. I stand out front of that poll for many years, and a lot of people come up and say, who do you think I would vote for? What are you doing? Think I would do? Because they don't know. They haven't taken the time. The majority of the people that come to the poll haven't taken their time to look at what's going on. So
What other triggers are there? to
Shown
get-
in the
No, I
back.
see that.
Yeah.
What other triggers are there to get the discussion going? I mean, that's a rhetorical question. Go ahead.
Bob Johnson, I'm also on the school committee. I can give you a general explanation of how this affects the children in this state versus the rest of the nation. Massachusetts is the traditional leader of education in the country. And when you take a curriculum and you combine it with Massachusetts and the curriculum from Missouri Farm Boys and shake it up and dump it out, you get Common Core.
Well, I'm from the Midwest now, be careful about Missouri.
And I mean no disrespect to Missouri Farm Boys.
And I just feel like this is an important topic, like, and I don't want to diminish the importance of it by just throwing a ballot question without people really understanding, like Troy said, what it means. Because most people have heard negative things on social media. And I know it's up to people to be informed, it's definitely up to people to do that. But what does it mean to Halifax? So we take the control of curriculum away from the state. Do we then need to hire more curriculum coordinators? Like, I think it goes beyond just these questions. Like, what's the plan?
Well, these potential bills are coming whether Halifax or not. I just want people
No,
to
but we
understand.
get rid of Common Core, we get rid of Park. It goes back to the local control. Like, what's the plan?
Well, no, it could go back to the standards could go back to the standards that were in effect before the 2011 vote.
Right. So,
Okay, so,
yeah.
but, I mean, that's really, for me, not the issue in terms of
Guess I like to know the end result.
We're not going to know the end result, though.
But people need to hear
I'm
about
sorry, Caroline in Halifax. Charlie Baker's looking for public input on this, and I think it's important that we get together on this issue and let him know where Halifax stands. He has to make a decision on the fall whether or not we accept Park or not in this state. And there really isn't time to wait. We have to, I mean, how long are we going to wait? You just said it was implemented 4 years ago. What are we going to wait for? There are forums, and people are allowed to come and discuss both sides, but the side that's for it never shows up.
Good,
As Mrs. Roy stated, we had a forum that was well attended a year ago, and it's been shown repeatedly on television. We have, when we're not filled up with teachers in the meeting, we have people opposed to Common Core in the gallery, maybe 10 or 15 each meeting. And we have talked about this at meetings in the past. And the thing is, if I could have whatever I want, I would remove the Common Core from the existing curriculum that we had all through the past, which made us the highest standard in the nation.
If what you're saying is it's too quick to jump it on the ballot, we won't educate, then would we commit to a non-binding referendum November?
But
No,
that's
they're saying it's
or
too
Is that,
no, too late. It's
So
not
then-
it's not that that's too late. The problem is, if we don't put it on now, then we'd have to have another special town meeting. I don't want the expense of that.
No,
But
I mean-
that doesn't mean that 100 citizens couldn't force a town meeting, for down the thing. So I'd rather get the ballot on this town meeting where we won't add additional cost by having, so if there's enough sentiment in town that a special town meeting is forced, then it's gonna cost us money to do that,
I mean-
to get that ballot on, sometime later in the year.
Well, Matt, so I'm asking the
And the
board.
only, and the reason that we had to do it this way is because the information as to the timetable of getting the referendum, other than approaching the Board of Selectmen, has already passed for this particular town meeting. So the only alternatives is either another town meeting or to get it on this ballot. And again, I think that this will galvanize the discussion if it is. And it's not a binding referendum. It's just showing direction for the legislators. And I'm proposing this so that we can see where Halifax voters stand.
The legislature won't recognize mailers or census that way, or door-to-door census, or you know, given more time to be able to have these forums in town?
Well, if we
This
have
is-
the
is
forum
this-
in towns, we can, you know, but what the legislator's gonna look for is this type of thing. They're gonna look for a vote. I mean, we obviously can have everybody write letters as well, but this type of, in my opinion, this type of vote would give a clear indication to our state rep and our
Well-
senator as to how Halifax feels.
I mean, one way I think you could look at this is if it's on the ballot and it's voted one way or the other high, you know, high for that one side or another, that could be used as a hammer where, as John, Mr. Tuffy had said, it could be used, I'm not saying that he said that about the hammer, but I'm saying, hey, we had it non-binding, and a lot of people that voted really weren't understanding what Common Core was or wasn't. So would be used, you know, to send the legislatures in a direction maybe they shouldn't be going in, if they're not. Is there enough time for you to get these forums set up and get people educated between now and town meeting? In order to, for the most impact? I mean, I think that's,
Well, I know
that's
we
the
can get
concern.
I know we can get the people that would speak against it tomorrow. You know, Mr. Tuffy had said that he could probably get some people when I did discuss with him.
I don't remember saying that. I have no, I can't, I don't know who is, I can't speak for the Department of Education. I don't know if they would come down to speak to this or not.
Well, you know, like, we, as a board, can say, let's do a ballot question. The brunt of informing the populace and others would be the people who want to do the ballot. It would be on their time, as you want to say it, to inform everybody, make sure people get out and vote and have the forums to have that. The board itself doesn't have to do that.
I know that. That's why I was asking him.
Yeah, so, you know, it's not our responsibility, although I think as town leaders, it is our responsibility to some extent. But like I said, I don't even know what Common Core means. I mean, what's the definition? I'm serious. I mean, you could say, well, it means, but I heard what you said. You know, they took something from Missouri and mixed it and threw it on a pot, and that's what Common Core is. But it's to me, it's like being in the neighborhood said common sense, as I said earlier. You know, what's common sense in some areas is not necessarily common sense in another community. You know, and Common Core sounds like that. Up until I talked to my kids about it, the teachers, I didn't understand.
It's a one-size-fits-all for the whole country.
I know we spent some good amount of time on it, 45 minutes on this.
I think Lori has.
No, I understand. So I just want to, you know, we're close, I think we're close to deciding what we want to do. We're not hearing a lot of different things right now. Just trying to come out with the root of what he's asking, what the board's thinking, where we want to go with this. When is town meeting from now? 7 weeks from now?
Yeah.
Right, May
Yeah,
11th?
the ballot is May 16th.
Ballot's May 16th. Today's the 24th, so we got 7 weeks between now and then. Do we want to hear any more questions, or how do you
I
want
think the two people that have had their hands up the most are Robert and Laurie. So I'd like to hear from those.
All right, you have more to add to this, or?
That's different, huh?
I'll defer to
Go ahead,
Mr.
no,
Slater.
go.
No, I can hear both.
He's had 3 shots, you got 2, so you go ahead.
You can go.
Okay, so I have a couple questions for the selectmen. Is part of your concern, I respect that, you know, this is kind of uncharted territory.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a valid concern. However, it shouldn't be a deal breaker, in my opinion, as a citizen and a voter. Is part of your concern also that the way the wording is currently is confusing? And if the language were refined, would you be more comfortable reviewing this question or this issue again?
I don't think the wording would make change, it was more refined, would help me, because the understanding of this Common Core is still beyond us. And,
Okay. And I think that
That's my opinion.
there's 4 questions. It is confusing, and I get it because I've been trying to figure it out for a while, but I still haven't figured it all out. But I have enough concerns to know that I would vote to send a message to our state that we may want to put the halt on this and try a different path. So that being said, I guess I would like to hear from each of you what you would need to see to feel that this is a more well thought out decision.
Which may be a 5th question. This subject is not attainable to understand completely at this point. We're only going by the facts we have up to this point in time. I don't know. Or some variation of that, of a statement. Go ahead, you have it?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point and then ask a question. I can't speak for everybody else, but I have my own concerns about Park, and I have my own concerns about Common Core. And I think this issue isn't so much against where you stand on these particular issues, it's what's the best course of action to take to address these concerns. I had a question, and for anyone in general, I heard it said that, or suggested that the school committee somehow wasn't accessible or wasn't willing to discuss these issues. But I don't recall anyone ever asking to be put on the agenda to discuss this issue within the past couple of months after the governor's taken over.
I heard that.
I didn't hear this particular meeting.
In this room.
So I guess I'm curious, why would you bypass that step? Why would you bypass your school committee and bring your concerns to your school committee and then have a more well-rounded discussion? Again, speaking only for myself, I wasn't trying to be evasive a couple months back when the suggestion was made to address this issue. I just thought it was prudent to wait until the governor had a chance to settle in.
Can I be honest with you? I don't mean to cut you off, Tim. But the governor's one man. And as with all governors, anything, they have their own agenda. I really don't know what the legislator voted. Does he have a right to veto it? Did they vote it?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
If the legislature decide to vote these new laws into place, when they go before the governor, does he have a right to veto it?
I think that's a question for council because, I mean, I'm not sure how
He does. Anything that comes before him, he has a right to veto it. But the point is that what his reasons for vetoing it would be questionable as to one way or another. Why does he veto it? You know, I still don't understand, and I'm going to end on this. I don't have any problem with putting a referendum on. You know, I do have the concerns that Kim has, but I think we should treat each situation as it is, an individual. But more than anything else, the education of the people are important. I still don't understand why MCAS came into being. I don't understand why any of these tests came into being because we're still struggling in this country on the education level, on the industrial level, because we're up for sale. Anybody that's got enough money to buy a business and they take it out. And that's just a personal whip. But if in fact, I would be really interested if somebody, the originator of Common Core or Park, could come and explain to me what it means and why the change is necessary.
I think some of that question is we're already assuming you guys are talking about this stuff. If it's already been in the news, maybe, if we needed to know to come to you to say, what's going on with this Common Core, that you haven't had a discussion of it, that we needed to do that, that's one thing. But we're in the assumption that the school committee, they're on, and the Board of Education and all that are all on top of this.
I just wanted to clarify my statement. It's not that we've never talked about Common Core.
No, I mean, to the degree to understand it, so in order for you to form an opinion for yourselves, whether you get to vote on it or not. Go ahead.
Thank you. Cassandra Hanson, Halifax School Committee. We have been talking about making these changes to Common Core since 2010. There was discussions at the school committee, at the elementary school committee level, what was coming what it would entail for the town and everything else, way back then. It's not like this just came and hit us now. It's been discussed. The school committee was never given a choice on whether we wanted this framework or that framework. That decision still lies with the state, by law. We can't change it. We can only adapt our curriculum materials to what the state tells us to teach. Good or bad, and I'm not making a decision either way on it, this is what it is. Just as when Ed Reform came around in 1993, whoever was sitting on the Halifax Elementary School Committee back then had to adapt to these changes, and the town had to adapt to the changes. Did MCAS come about in a different way? It did. There was a lot more talk, a lot more forums across the state before it was implemented. There wasn't that with this set of curriculum changes, but it wasn't that way with the last set of curriculum changes either. When the first set of curriculum came around, I think about 1999 or so, we lived with that for a while, and then it adapted to what changes were made in 2001 and 2004 in ELA and math. The state has made curriculum changes all along. What happened was when the state decided to make curriculum changes to the ELA and math standards, they started that process. The Common Core standards were beginning, and those two things merged. If you look at some of the standards and compare them from the old frameworks to the new frameworks, they are very, very similar in a lot of ways. The literature pieces are there. They might not be in the Common Core standards, but they are in the Massachusetts standards. And I think that when we talk about what we have in Massachusetts, we really need to talk about what we have in Massachusetts and just not Common Core. And compare what we had before to what we have now. And whether we have a PARCC test or whether we have a different test, that remains to be seen. In the long run, is it gonna cost the state and the town's money no matter what we do? Yes, it is. And that's all.
Do you want a ballot question to tell you how the citizens of Halifax feel about this subject?
I don't necessarily think it needs to be a ballot question. I think, we need to get people involved at all levels to say, this is what, do I think that we need to be more vocal to our legislatures? I absolutely do. But it's not my decision, it's yours.
Would this help push that along more by having one? That people would start more being proactive and trying to find out what this is and what it means to them?
I honestly don't know.
Anyone want to cut this off?
No, I was about to say, if there's any new information,
Just to answer, I organized about 30 people. We met at the police station to talk about Common Core before we went to a school committee meeting. I think it was last October. And we were raising concerns and talking, and Mrs. Hanson did say, basically wrapped it up, we're out of time, our hands are tied, money's linked to it. And she said how we implemented back in 2010. I said I never got the notice. People are just waking up to it. A lot of people are waking up, passionate about it, but our school committee feels like they can't do anything. So we really need the voters. I don't know what you're afraid of. We need the voters to talk about it. We need to open up the conversations, because the money behind pushing Common Core onto the states are billionaires. I don't have $1 billion. I'm just trying to talk as much as I can, and we're all trying to do this, spending our night here, trying to entice you to put this on the ballot so more people can talk about it. We need more conversation, we need more people asking questions, and that's what we're asking for, because we're running out of time. We don't want PARCC coming into Halifax.
Well, you don't want PARCC coming into Halifax, but other people may.
Yeah.
We don't know.
But
We don't know.
we want to
Right,
send,
that's
right, we want to send the
Yes.
thing, the little town, this is what, and if all the little towns,
And that's my concern, is that it's balanced. It's about the balance and not making this less important than it is.
I don't think I'm hearing a lot of, one-sidedness anyways.
Yeah.
But we're hearing two sides, which is good.
Right.
We're getting a balance thing.
Right.
Go ahead, one more.
If I'm allowed to
John-
speak,
Then
I
I'm
would
gonna let
just
John
like
have the last word here and
to
then.
respectfully request that you trust the people who elected you to have their opinion heard by the legislature.
With all due respect, the pen is mightier than the sword. You can contact your legislature
We
at
do.
any time
We did, they told
and
us.
notify them. I'm not saying that the referendum is not good, but we're not stopping you from contacting your legislature
We do.
in no way, in no form.
All right, last, John.
I just want to thank you for considering it, and I think we should move the question.
Good boy.
It's not comedy. You can't make it.
I don't, I think it's not gonna be as an educated vote, it's a non-referendum, it's not as an educated vote, but it is something that everybody's talking about, but nobody seems to, get it. I don't get it. Troy don't get it. Kim gets it because that's the
I don't
circles
get it at all.
where you get it better than we do.
She's the only educated one here, we're not.
Yeah. With the fossils in there, right?
No, I have children that are younger that are in school, so.
So you're gonna play that card.
So, that's my opinion. My only fear is that it'll be used for a hammer one way or the other. I want to make it clear that it's not for that, it's just maybe to push this thing and get everybody to start. Like they say, there's nothing that their hands are tied, but if this is one way to say,
I'm not gonna.
this is a feeler and.
I'm not gonna presume to know what is on people's minds and what their intents are. And so the referendum would be one way of at least saying a loud voice, whether it's for or against or anything else, that's to our legislators, but, and with that, I would like to say, I would like to move that we put it on the referendum. And I realize that there's some questions about it, but I can move it at this point in time.
Okay, before I second that, I will second it for the discussion. Are you in any way share any of the concern that I do about having?
Setting precedent?
Yeah, setting a
Yes,
precedent.
I know. But I also know that we can zero in on particular issues as they come down. It's gonna always be that way, so,
Okay.
yeah, I do have a concern, but it doesn't overpower the fact that, as was stated earlier, we're here for the people, they should have their voice, there's a chance, it'll always change. We may not be here the next election and then round, but.
my opinion, I'm sorry. No, my opinion is, you're right in the concern, I'd be concerned too. I think there's certain things that rise to a certain level,
Okay.
and once it passes a certain level,
Okay, so
that would, you have to make that determination, and you have to have that in your own mind, or anybody sitting here would have it in their own mind, at what level would you go to do it?
okay, so it's pretty clear that this is gonna go on the ballot, but there's a couple of requests that I have. And that is, we do work on these questions, that these questions are simple enough that people understand it. So this is a little complicated.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to run it by Charlie
Because
to
nobody
get a
knows,
little bit.
for instance, support HD 242040. Like, somebody doesn't really know what that means.
Well,
And
here's
then-
an example.
No,
When
I-
you get your questions from the state on what's on the ballot,
No,
they give you.
that was my next point.
Oh,
That was my next point, is that
If you vote for it, yes.
that both sides are represented. I know Mr. Tuffy cannot guarantee that the Department of Education can be here for any kind of a forum, but I definitely don't want it to just be a bus one way, because it's not fair to the elder people that don't have children in the school and aren't informed. I don't want to send the wrong message either.
I don't want that either.
That this is, again, this is an important aspect of our children's lives, and I don't want to minimize it by just we'll just do that ballot question, because it means something. I know you're saying it's non-binding, but in my mind it doesn't feel non-binding, because you're also trying to send a clear message to the elected officials in Halifax. And part of it may not be fair to them in the sense of they may not have a choice. So it's bigger than it seems. It's not as simple as just asking people's opinions. And in my mind, I see it bigger than that. It's a huge thing. And where you didn't get the necessary signatures that most people would have to, it's sort of now sponsored by the Board of Selectmen, and I take a heavy responsibility in that. And that's why I'm struggling with this. I really don't want to support it for all those reasons. But it's clear that it will happen.
Well,
And so if it happens, I want to be able to have it on the terms that at least will make it a little bit more acceptable for me to support.
I agree with that. I don't want to see it being used as a hammer one way or the other to our legislatures with an unformed hammer. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Can we vote to open the warrant?
I'll make a motion that we open the warrant.
Second. I will admit, on the premise that we open and close it tonight.
Yes. Any further discussion on opening the warrant? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, warrant's open to place an article to be refined for the board's final,
But with that vote,
for
An
final.
initiative petition. It's not a warrant.
Initiative petition, non-binding.
that we will approve the questions.
We need to see the final before it goes on a warrant.
How soon do you need
And we
it?
need a commitment,
We need to approve that.
Yesterday.
We need to approve that as a board.
and we need at least a couple of forums, like a commitment from you that a couple of forums will take place.
If by the time we get that letter, we want to know what that is.
And we need to explain that it's non-binding. That's important, that the school committee may not have a choice in supporting it.
So, I mean, it's still, it could, if it doesn't come to fruition, we can still pass over it.
And
That town meeting, it'll still be on the question, it will still be on the ballot though, right?
I would,
So, no, maybe not.
yeah, I would make a recommendation that if possible, we invite our legislators here sometime during meetings before town meetings to discuss that we've had this little discussion.
Or at minimum, our concerns of not understanding this and, going to the governor in November and not having a lot of, we want to have as much input as we can, I guess. Is that, so that's what we want to see. We want to see the wording. We want the board to look over it, prove it, and we want to know what type of farms we're going to see prior to town
I
meeting.
just want to be educated.
So that's,
I mean that sincerely, I don't, if I don't know something, I say it, and this is one of those things, except for talking to people, I don't know when these things originate and why it changes, because I can still remember what reading, writing, and arithmetic, and physical education, and history, and geography, and literature. Those were the subjects we had, and I think I did pretty good with them.
You're right, we did all right with that.
Amen.
So,
okay, so.
There's a forum
we
in
gotta-
Whitman on
we gotta
April
vote.
9th.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
There's a forum in Whitman on April 9th. It'll be very informative.
There's one in Carver on the
There's a
10th.
woman on, who'll be speaking, who was on the board that developed Common Core and did not sign off on it, so.
But we
She
also
has
need-
inside information. Both sides are being
Yeah,
invited to
she
the
was,
meeting.
yeah, she was,
Yep,
she was
she
at the
was,
one.
yeah, she was
She
here,
had a
yes,
soft
yes.
Somehow we need to
But
get
we
that
need
information
forums
out.
here.
We need to get that information to
Yes,
us to get
I-
that
yeah.
out.
So that our
Okay.
seniors can
we
easily.
got the TV.
Yeah, definitely.
We got TV, when's the meeting?
April 9th in Whitman. It's at the Whitman Police Station at 7 p.m.
But we need a forum for Halifax so
Right.
that our seniors are able to attend. Like it's not just the parents of the town that are represented, that it's the whole town because it's a whole town decision.
I want the kids to come. The ones that are affected.
I brought my daughter's homework. Do you want to see the 90 cubes she had to draw? She's represented right here.
So
90 cubes.
we're open with the warrant. That's what we're putting in the warrant.
I move that we close.
That's acceptable to vote on that? That, do we vote on the article that? Or we just
Again,
vote to close?
it's not an article.
No, I mean, it's
warrant.
a warrant.
It's a ballot issue.
Thanks, Jim. See, that's what we miss about Charlie.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
beat him. All right, we'll be on it, that's what we're requesting.
Thank you all very much for being here
Motion to
tonight.
close the
Keep me
warrant.
up past my bedtime.
Thank you, thank you.
Close the warrant.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, warrant's closed. Thank you
Can I be
all.
excused for a second?
Sure. Take a five. Thank you.
Oh, right, yes, yes, I know. I said-
Camera action, all right. Recycle truck pothole damage, fire station sign pothole damage, Northland Properties, Fieldstone Farm changed the dates from April to July because of the snow. Appropriate departments have been notified. Randall Hill property conservation restrictions, they have indicated that it is good to go. Wetlands Trust has indicated that it will need to vote again, likely in early April. Pothole money, the state has received 30 million statewide. For Halifax, that amount is $40,641. The highway department has been notified. Beautification committee, preliminary plan brought in by John Kessinger. Amy Troop was perturbed that it was asked the board to give permission to the beautification committee to develop a plan because she said the committee did not ask for permission. So is this an individual, not a committee? Is that what?
She's part of the,
Yeah,
no.
but the committee didn't?
Kissinger is a part of that committee. He came in, and I talked to several people on the committee, and yeah, Amy was upset. But the fact is that they still, the whole purpose of it is to plant flowers in the yard. We gave permission to plant flowers in the yard, this and everything else.
Well, we never did. No, we didn't give, the board never gave permission for that.
I thought they had.
No, they went and dug the hole and realized, hey,
They
we can't.
cleaned it up, but they didn't, they dug a hole.
It's been
I'm
buried
talking
in
about
snow
after
forever.
they did.
So is it because they didn't do it as a board that somebody individually,
Yeah.
so
I
is
think
that, that's what it
it
sounds
was.
like?
It was on Facebook.
All right. Opiate listening tour, the Mass Task Force is holding a listening session on Thursday, March 26th at Memorial Hall in Plymouth from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. What is that? Mass?
About all
Fieldstone.
the mass drug test.
Assessment program. All right, opiate listening tour, Plymouth, Mayor Bill Carpenter and Sheriff Joe McDonald. They're having as many of you know, Charlie Baker has put together an opiate and addiction task force consisting of many states and local leaders active in the field of recovery. Mayor Bill Carpenter and Plymouth County Sheriff Joe McDonald are two members of that task force. On Thursday, March 26th, Mayor Carpenter, Sheriff Bill will be hosting one of the 4 listening tours at Memorial Hall, 83 Court Street in Plymouth, Mass. from 4 to 6. The sheriff and mayor, understanding that the addiction crisis now knows no boundaries and impacts every one of our cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth.
Bless you.
We ask you or a representative from your respective municipality to join us
John, thank you.
in that. All right. Sorry. They're killing me. You guys enjoy that? Well, I start tripping up when somebody starts talking. I'm trying to pay attention to everything.
that's going on around.
We are asked, you or a representative from your respective municipality to join us at this event to help us get the word out onto your consistent
So there's a task
and
force.
local advocacy groups about this opportunity to have their voices heard. So anybody interested, please let
I'm sorry, I just
somebody
have
know.
something about the road.
All right, opiate listening. All right, non-mail. Elementary school roof. I think we had this before, right?
Yeah, we did.
So that hasn't really changed from last time? Yeah, I remember, I remember it was, we're waiting for them.
I think those are like things
Charlie
that are still on
explained it.
there that are still like out waiting and stuff like that, that are like, You know what I'm saying, if you read the bottom, yeah.
He hasn't got a definitive answer from anybody as to what's going on or why it wasn't put in, or answer back as to whether or not he should apply for it or grants this year, as I read it. Am I wrong?
No, Mass School Building
Yeah.
Authority, this, the MSBA is involved from September 1, the staff mentioned. It's in future, so. All right, Code of Conduct for Visitors, discussion on March 24th. I don't see that happening tonight, do you? Troy, you want to
Nope.
put that off? And I thought we were supposed to see one also for employees as well.
Oh, really?
Well, that's what I initially heard of. So I would thought they would be both in the same discussion, so we wouldn't have to repeat some of the same ground.
You forgot general code book bylaws.
Silver Lake Regional School District, I don't know what there is to discuss there. Oak Place easement, road work, waiting to hear back from Highway. Halifax Country Club wetlands, no change. Wetlands, Fieldstone Farm, no change. Traffic light, no change. Consolidating buildings, waiting to hear back from the Highway, and recycling indicated that there was a need for, whether there's a need for a new building, for a baler, equipment, and inventory. What was not said was the town would need to establish a traffic pattern security. Chapter 32B, municipal health insurance, we talked
discussed that
about.
already.
Mike, I asked John to come back in because of the elementary school roof.
All right, let me finish it. I think we did finish, except for I want to go back to the first part that postponed to the end. Town will share the cost, the town intends at some point. Is that right, Troy?
Yeah.
Yeah, chapter 32B, municipal health insurance form, 7 years ago, blah, blah, blah.
Well, we accepted 21, 23,
Yeah.
so that's already done.
Okay, so that's the next step, okay. So, actually, that clears us up, except for that item we pushed to the end.
We have the school
So,
roof.
great, 'cause we don't understand it. Another thing, elementary school roof, several weeks ago, I reported that the board had an application for state assistance for the elementary school roof project had not been submitted. I don't know, and it goes on and on.
No, but then he says that he found out that it's fine because there's two different things, so maybe John can explain it.
So I had a conversation with Mr. Stevens last Friday about this very issue. We had originally talked about making an application to MSBA, Mass School Building Authority, under what they call their accelerated repair program. The issue with the accelerated repair program is it required us to be in now to have invested some money and have people lined up and ready to move forward with a project. Hence the word accelerated. We're really not in that position. However, they have their regular school building assistance program that would deal with a project of this size. And so for less of a commitment to be able to move forward in a hurry, we're able to submit an application, and if it's accepted, then come back to the town to get funding and start the project. It looks more like what we're used to having the school building assistance program look like than the accelerated program. It's not an emergency situation at this point in time, and so if we go the standard, and we believe we can make the deadlines for it, if we go the regular statement of interest process, it will give us all time to get comfortable with it, and in fact, if we have to go back to town meeting for funding at a later date, people will have had a chance to get better acquainted with the program and how the need for the roof, and then not feel rushed to move forward.
So the roof is in good enough shape that it won't leak,
Yeah,
intrude into the classrooms? And that this is the direction that you think you can go?
Correct. Last year's town meeting provided a sum of money to reseal the seams on what is the flat roof, which is the oldest part of the roof. This winter, we've actually had a few leaks, but again, this winter has tested roofs. I mean, I've got roofs in other buildings that we have never had infiltration before, and we've had some. So this has pushed everything to the limit. Yeah, the idea behind the repair that we did last year is it would buy us some time, and we know we're coming towards the end of the useful life of that roof, but it would buy us some time to move forward in a slow, deliberate way, rather than feel rushed or have an emergency situation.
So there doesn't need to be an appropriation at this town meeting at all? No funds for
That is-
design need to be
That is
set
not,
up?
that is our understanding, Charlie's understanding in mind. That we just really, if you will, it's like going to the deli counter and want to get a ticket. We want to tell them that we got something out there, see if MSBA will start to rank it as a priority. In fact, when they get to it and say, yes, we'll move forward, we will have some time to get everything lined up and get funding. It's going to require the Board of Selectmen, I mean, there are a number of things we have to do, but the two big key votes, it's going to take at least 2 votes, one from the Board of Selectmen and one from the school committee, both saying that this is a project that they support and that they believe if we bring it forward to the town would vote to fund it.
Yeah, we were a little anxious about hearing about the roof, not knowing the condition of the roof. Anxious about does this need to be expedited or what? So it was nice to have you in here and explain that a little more to us. I think that relieves some of the anxiety.
Well, that was,
for that.
yeah, well, that was, I mean, frankly, that was the support of this board, the finance committee, and Jerry Elliott was certainly very helpful in moving forward with that roofing project. When he was having that done, because he did oversee that as part of the municipal school building committee, he was able to gather some information about what it was going to take to move forward, and we don't have a formal proposal. We have, I guess, what I describe as an allowance number and a general scope of work for what it will take to repair.
Because usually we hire an architect or an engineer or something. The last one we had to do the library, and we had to re-engineer the roof because it wasn't designed and installed to the proper specs, and that's why we're already replacing it under the life expectancy.
Well, assuming that this actually becomes a project, those kinds of things will happen. That is the design and biddable specs and those sorts of things. But we're not there yet. We don't need to invest that money at this point in time.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for stopping
Well,
by.
and frankly, thanking you and the town in advance, because it's going to take the cooperation of several departments to pull this together, assuming we can pull this all together. But that's our hope, to pull this all together and file a statement of interest, not really an application for a grant at this point, but rather inform them that we have a project we think is worthy of being considered. If they consider it, then we go to the next step.
Did we hear we got a new superintendent?
You do have a new
Already lined up?
You do have a new superintendent.
Already lined up and everything? Already
And I
dusting off?
understand that she's a lot better looking.
Are they
than
dusting off?
That is not hard at all. I appreciate that. Yes, actually, Joy Blackwood, who's the assistant superintendent and has been for 8 years, is going to become the superintendent when I leave on June 30th. And so we have advertised for an assistant superintendent at this point in time, and we'll go from there. Could happen.
She's having too much fun.
Could happen. So yes, the transition, if you will, from me to Joy has started, and ought to be pretty seamless. I'm actually happy that we don't have to go through this period where we either have an interim or we have that uncertainty as to what's going to happen. I mean, I'm sure changes are going to happen, and they need to happen. But on the other hand, there is so much going on that there really isn't that time to stop. I mean, to stand still is to fall behind. So it ought to be a seamless transition, and we'll go from there.
You've done such a great job. It's like we can't, this isn't, a communist or one of those countries that we have to make you stay until you drop. So, short of that,
water torture.
That's very kind. I got to tell you, it's been a wonderful 14 years here in the district. I love my job. I consider myself fortunate I'm sure I will miss it when I leave, but it's time for Silver Lake and Halifax, Plimpton, and Kingston to move to the next level and to have somebody who will not only be here for the beginning of the change that needs to happen, but lead it through the conclusion. And you have somebody who's going to do a great job doing that, and it's just time. So thank you.
What are you doing all the spare time you're gonna have?
You know, I don't know what I'm going to do. I haven't figured that out yet, but I'm sure I will.
You're still a young man, come on.
God bless you for saying that. I appreciate that.
You're younger than I am, so.
You're leaving on an excellent record, on an excellent track, and your performance has been above and beyond reproach. You know, and I guess in life you can't ask any more than that, can you?
Well, those are all kind of things to say, but frankly, I work with a lot of very good and talented people who make me look good. And the communities have always been supportive. While we've, I've never had a sense that the schools didn't get their fair share of a town budget. And I've never felt that the communities, in the end, weren't as generous as they could be with the schools. And they certainly value education, and that shows by the fact that we're talking about, in these difficult times, re-roofing a building to protect your investment in that building. And the two buildings that Silver Lake put up, I think of as the new buildings, but they're 10 years old. But nonetheless, that speaks to your commitment, and I thank you for it. You've made my job very easy.
We're gonna really miss you.
Yeah, I'd see sometimes you're doing, especially town meetings, you're at every meeting. It's like, you should having one of those minivans that you can dunk out in the back, just to save you from the running around. I don't know.
The thickness of his glasses have changed over
Right,
the years.
have they?
You're seeing things that are different.
So one of the difficulties of my job is that I get my picture in the yearbook every year. And so I get
Time progression?
I can go and see myself age. I'm not always sure I like that, but that's the reality. And as for town meeting, you hold your town meeting. Admittedly it's your school, but I think of it as my building. And frankly, I talk to more parents and town residents during town meetings than I talk to most of the year, because they're all there, and I sort of hear it all, good and bad, and that's important.
Well, John, you're talking about you can go back to the yearbook. I'm back into the mirror every morning because I don't want to face it.
Well, you're not doing it because you don't want to
Oh,
break it?
no. It's just getting pretty bad, you know. We're trying to shave backwards. It's kind of hard to move around.
That's why I don't trust myself with a razor.
There you go.
But on a serious note, thank you very much for your service. Appreciate it.
This is a little like coming to my own wedding.
I think
We'll have plenty of time to
Well, we'll be seeing you at the gym now, because I gotta get there myself, so. And it's right up the street, right?
If I'm not there, start without me.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you, John. Drive safe. And happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Is that yours, John?
No, I sort of look at it and decide I'd just leave it.
Oh,
We have no road cuts, right?
no. Oh, can I just do the plot for hop super quick?
All right, and then we got one more after, we got
Yeah,
one
no, we
more.
have to do this plot for hop, so.
Yeah, we have one more thing after that.
Yeah, you wanted an update on the petting zoo and the pony rides, right?
Well, yeah, we want to know about the animals
Yes.
that were,
So Monday night.
Nobody in the hallway, so I'll leave it here.
Monday night, I went to the HOPS meeting.
thanks again, sir.
Thank you.
I went to finance and the HOPS meeting, but in between I went up because they moved over. Terry Carmen, who's the resident that has been so generous with sharing her animals with us. And she went through the whole plan of, she has two not quite ponies, not quite full-size horses, something about 14
Yeah, 14 hands.
or
Yeah.
something.
It's considered a pony, but not quite a horse.
Yeah, so she has people coming, there'll be 2 people with the child on the horse at all times. One pulling the horse, one holding the child, and then the parent can walk on either side. She's coming with all of her combs, she's gonna clean up all the muck afterwards. When it comes to the petting zoo, we have some residents that are bringing just baby animals, so baby pigs, baby rabbits, baby lamb. A lamb is a baby.
Yeah. I'm having a big
I'm a
one.
girl from Quincy. I just learned that in Kansas.
Baby lamb?
Yeah, a lamb becomes a sheep. A lady sheep is a ewe, and a boy sheep
Oh,
is a
yeah.
yeah.
It's a ram.
But in general,
In
We're all-
general, lambs are all babies.
we're all sheep. According to
Sure.
the people selling us stuff.
Okay, so they're providing their own fencing around where the baby animals will be. They will clean up after themselves. They're providing all of the volunteers to help the children with the petting zoo, and that's the update.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
How's the temperament of the animals?
Oh, very well. The babies are babies, and these two boys is a father and son horse, and they're very, very good boys. They're very good boys.
Gentle.
So the temperament is gentle, they've been
Yeah.
around kids,
Yes, yes.
there's
She has
no
watched them
sense
at
of
birthday
any,
parties before, and she said even if, and she's so in tune with her animals that, you know, she recognizes that
She
it's
can
been a
read
long
them
winter
if
for
there's
them,
some
and she
nerve.
can read them, and she said if she didn't think they were ready, then what we'll do is we'll groom the horses, like we'll let the kids feed them carrots and we'll let them touch them, so she, you know, I feel pretty confident that she would never let a child get on the animal if she didn't think it would be safe.
so will they be that's the petting
Two
That's the
things.
pony
So we
riding.
have pony rides or, yeah,
or grooming?
or
petting
grooming,
and
and then the little petting area.
Is the ewes and,
No, we're not bringing any, we're bringing just baby animals. We're just bringing we're bringing piglets, lambs, bunnies, and,
Chinchilla? No.
oh, I forgot what the last one was.
so they're all minis?
They're all babies, yeah, babies, yeah,
And they're pretty comfortable that
yes,
they've handled them and
Yeah, oh,
they're
yeah.
expert in them?
Yeah.
and-
yep,
No dinosaurs, anything?
no.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, here we go. I think this is the last. This regards the grievance decision, Kenneth Bartlett. Dear Mr. Bartlett, this is a letter from,
Well, it says we should reiterate that the
Yeah, I
grievance
mean-
hearings was held 2 weeks ago.
where is, let me get back to that. Did I lose it? Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, now we get to that point, I asked him, when we discussed it. All right, the board should do something like this, all right, number one. Reiterate that the grievance hearing was held 2 weeks ago. Right, you remember that hearing? It was 2 weeks ago? As individuals, not as a board, there's been no discussion amongst us. Have reviewed. So as individuals, not as a board, we've reviewed this matter.
Yeah.
The board has received a draft decision from the town, from town council. Each member agrees with the draft decision.
Do we all agree with the draft decision?
I do.
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
what I know I looked at it.
No, just because we haven't talked about it, so that's
No,
why.
well, we
Yeah.
couldn't until we meet.
Right.
So, I think that was what Charlie got out of
Okay.
our individual responses to when we received it from Charlie.
Okay,
We received the draft, and I think that was the conclusion
okay,
that Charlie got. And so are we affirming that that's
Yes.
still
yes.
stand? Okay. Read the decision letter and then vote through a poll, the grievance, or, you know, whatever action. But, so what I want to do is I want to read the letter from, did I lose it? Mr. Charlie said? I have it.
Right here.
This is my problem. Thank you. Dear Mr. Bartlett, this letter represents our decision and response to your grievance dated February 20th, 2015, whereby you claim that you were unjustly terminated on February 17, 2015 by the highway surveyor Robert Bedore. We have reviewed all the documents and evidence presented to us at the grievance hearing held on March 10, 2015. This review included consideration of the arguments made on your behalf by the AFS CME staff representative Karen Hathaway, as well as your own arguments and testimony in that of Mr. Bedore. While certain of the facts represented may not be entirely clear and disputed, what is crystal clear to us is your negligent driving history since the start of your employment as a labor/truck driver in July 2012, without reiterating the things. That history in detail, all is set out and attached to the written termination letter dated February 18, 2015, and signed by Assistant Town Treasurer Linda Cole. In summary, you have had no fewer than 5 accidents resulting in property damage while driving town vehicles. 2 of those accidents occurs within a half hour of each other, at separate locations on the same day in the winter of 2014. At that time, you were given a written warning by Mr. Boudreau, dated February 19, 2014, in which you were told that if any additional warnings or incidents occurred, your employment with the town would be terminated. That additional incident, in fact, occurred on February 15, 2015, when you backed your truck into and smashed the windshield of a car on the Halifax residence driveway. While we recognize that you may have been attempting to help clear snow off the foot of the driveway, you had been instructed to do sanding, not plowing, more importantly, even though you may have been looking to do a good deed, that would not excuse your negligent driving. While a question may exist as to whether or not you called Mr. Boudreau and when, after knocking down a traffic sign with your truck in East Bridgewater in the spring of 2013, there was no question that you left the scene of that accident causing an East Bridgewater police to pursue and pull you over. This violated laws and regulations governing the operation of the vehicle. And you have been given a number of verbal warnings and cautions followed by the written warning of February 19, 2014, which puts you on notice that the next instance of negligence would result in your termination. It would be unreasonable, and an unwise assumption of risk for the town to await an incident where the town incurs liability for a person being injured and or even more serious property damage. For all these reasons, we find that just cause existed for you being terminated by the highway surveyor. Very truly yours, Halifax Board of Selectmen. CC Karen Hathaway, AFS CME representatives. Very truly yours. So, based on the request from Highway, based on the grievance hearing, in our review of this, do we have a vote to move forward with this?
I will make a
Move
motion.
to uphold the grievance?
Yeah, I will make a motion that we vote to uphold the grievance in the termination of Mr. Bartel, and that he not be reinstated.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Is there a main one in here to sign?
Would you like to sign this one, why were those ones okay, or is it those papers? Sign with these, no?
You don't have that, do you?
I have a clean one. I think that's fine, right? Is that okay?
Maybe it's in one of the other, no, there's only that one here. Here's one right
That's
here.
good, that's something.
You want to use that one out of your folder
Yeah,
there?
I can change.
I would've thought that would've been right at the top. Okay, John here? Cindy? Anything else before the board?
I would move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And I would like to wish everybody a happy Easter. For many, many reasons. Spring's coming,
Please.
and the bunny can't hop in
Don't get my
snow
hopes-
for
don't get
one,
my
and
hopes up.
Jesus can't rise from the dead because the ground's frozen.
Yeah.
So we need closure here. So thank you, everybody, and see you again.
As the snow is outside, I'm slowly melting away.